OTB AM.
With Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
7:30, OTB AM, you're welcome along. It's Friday morning. Adrian, Eoin and Colm with you this morning. Morning, lads.
Hey, Adrian.
Hi, lads.
Somebody was pointing out to me last week about the weirdness of introducing a show as if we've just all walked into the room together at the same time and not spoken to each other once this morning and saying, how are you getting on? But regardless, how's life?
I did not ask you one time how are you getting on. I always save the authenticity.
Like, good
air.
morning is like, we've been chatting for the last hour, like.
Yeah. No, all is good. Good to have you back.
Good to have me back.
Yeah, myself and Colm have been, working away since Monday on this show.
Okay,
and it's good to have you inserted, parachuted into.
I've reached that stage in life where I can't remember where I was last Friday, but I'm pretty certain I was here. Colm, how's the mood after last night? So I didn't get to see the game, I'll admit, and I saw the result last night and thought, oof, God, this must have been all right.
Yeah, your plans sounded better than the match itself, because we have discussed how you were this morning. We did go through that, so this is the second take. The match, very lucky Manchester United to get a point out of that. First half was just terrible. Like, it was, I think Roy Keane said in the Sky Sports studio, it was like an FA Cup tie where United are the lower league side and Chelsea are the dominant Premier League one. I would say it was more like a testimonial. United are just walking around, and I can't believe it was 0-0. Like, I'd be looking at Chelsea here, like, what's going on with Chelsea? How did they not win this match? They had numerous chances. Second half slightly better, and then watching the entire match was probably worth sitting through that hour and a half plus just for those couple of minutes in the hour mark. Those two goals were absolutely brilliant. Probably had no business belonging to a match like as mediocre as that, but two brilliant strikes. Cristiano Ronaldo has scored 8 of Manchester United's last 9 goals. He scored all of their last 5 goals. It's just been a disaster for United. Like, if they win the remaining 3 games, they have to win United the remaining 3 games to actually equal their lowest points tally in Premier League history. And also, it's just the season's going out with such a whimper. I felt I must have said about 2.5 to 3 months ago to Ger and Eoin, Manchester United season resembles, the end of Leaving Cert when no one's really sure what they're going to do next and where's everyone going to go with the rest of their lives that summer. But it's really solidified now because United's last home game is Monday night against Brentford, and then they're done for the season at Old Trafford, and then they have 2 away games to Brighton and Crystal Palace. It's just such an underwhelming end to the season.
Yeah.
They can still mathematically get 4th, but I think Arsenal only need 5 points, is it, from the remaining games to secure 4th place.
Or to at least finish above United anyway.
Our Spurs can take it too. So the season just needs to end faster. Like, you look at Ralf Rangnick, sure, he could be taking another job while he's being insulted at United. And you could actually hear the Old Trafford crowd talking amongst themselves last night. Now, the Old Trafford crowd gets a lot of criticism from rival fans that it's not exactly the most raucous of atmospheres at the best of times, but you could really feel like it was people just catching up and going to the pub, and there happened to be a match on at the same time.
You mentioned there that you're getting to the stage where you don't know where you were last Friday. I would say most people, including Chelsea and Manchester United fans, will be doing well to remember that this game actually happened last night. Next week it'll be one of those things that comes up in a quiz in a few years' time and be like, what?
Because it should be an absolute monster game. Like
Ronaldo, Alonso, I have no recollection of those goals.
It's got that written all over it. But I mean, even look at the Leaving Cert analogy. Surely, like, you're studying as hard as you possibly can, getting towards the finish line, and you're trying to get. It's like it feels as if they've just entirely given up, and that might not look at when you haven't done anything up to that point on. In my case,
no, it's more socially. It's like, what are you going to do with the rest of your life, lads? Like, are you going to college? Are you going to go travelling? Are you going to work or what? And it feels like all the players have different answers to that.
I think United are like, if I can get those points, that number one choice that I have, that everybody knows you really haven't got a hope of getting. Is
it more like the Debs rather than the exams themselves? Like, I mean, at least the exams are kind of like filled with tension in the study hall, and people, as you say, are working hard. Whereas this kind of feels like the actual summertime of finishing school.
You're waiting for the date that you really wanted. That's not arrived. Not on the scene for a couple of months. And, you have to go through the rigmarole of, here's the flowers. And is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what I was thinking.
It sticks out like a sore thumb to me when you look at events over the last even maybe 24 hours that Liverpool are at the peak of the continuously upward trend that they're on right? Like they are challenging for the titles on all fronts, challenging for the quadruple, whether it comes off or not. The new manager has just signed a new contract. Like when we look back on the trajectory of where this Liverpool crew are at, that form line is still up and up and up, right? Like there's no end to what could possibly be achieved here. Added to the re-signing of Jurgen Klopp yesterday for another couple of years. Like everything is turning out Millhouse for Liverpool. And Manchester United, like based on the performance last night, plus the indications from Ralf Rangnick now that he's signing up as a consultant to the club, they are at the current lower end of a seemingly endless race to the bottom.
The consultancy role was always going to happen. The problem with it is that it's so ambiguous as to what that actually entails. I think what actually is the issue now that's emerged over the last 12 hours or so is that Rangnick, is, even if he doesn't take it, has heavily considered this international job offer with Austria, which means I feel that consultancy role will just die out within 6 months. Well, and this is the same guy who said earlier this week that there's a major rebuild to be done, which I'm very excited to be part of. And I saw someone on Twitter last night saying that rebuild lasted all of 24 hours so if he's going to take this Austria job. And I think that's more of an issue. The consultancy thing was always a bit concerning because it would have made sense if they were to say, well, we'll play to Rangnick's strengths. So he'll take this interim job for 6 months and then he'll be director of football at the end of it. But we just don't know what he's going to consult about. Like, is he just going to be on the end of a Teams call if necessary? Or is he going to be heavily involved?
I do think that is a kind of a crucial point because, like, one thing that we've known from the Eric Ten Hag process that has leaked out that he was looking for absolute managerial autonomy. He didn't want to come in as a head coach. He wanted to have the hands fully on the rein, a la Fergie. And look, it's never going to be quite to that extent, but in that mould, right? So where is the room after that for the consultant? Like, and I know you're saying, like, because it was, Jesus, listen, it's not that long ago that we were talking about Ralf Rangnick possibly appointing himself to the job, and it became apparent fairly quickly that was just a ludicrous notion. This mess that's at United now is clearly not of Rangnick's making, but he sure as hell has done absolutely nothing to improve it. What is the body of evidence for this club to say, based on what we've seen over the last, 5 months, you need to stay at this club in a consultancy role? And is that role, like you say, Colm, is he going to consult on the football side? Because if he is, what's happened over the last 5 months has been an absolute shambles and nothing to recommend into that position. Or is he going to consult on the business side? In which case, what in the name of hell has that guy been doing as the manager of Manchester United for the last 5 months? Whatever the outcome, none of it reflects well on the club.
I have to say, as mad as this sounds, and this will seem even stranger reacting to what you said, which is all very logical, and it's kind of hard to argue with. I actually kind of like Rangnick. I like his candour. I like the fact that he came into the job very ambitious and positive that he could be the man to turn it around, or to turn their fortunes slightly around and improve United's fare to the end of the season. And I think what's happened over the course of the few months that he's been in the job is that the players that he has at his disposal have basically depressed him to the stage where he's coming out and he's like, I can't handle these lads.
But Colm, not in that position.
Bit by bit, it was like, look, it's so obvious we need to improve in this area. Did he say they need as many as 10 players after the Arsenal defeat last weekend? And I think he was being kind with the 10. And he's, because at the start he was like, no, we're getting there, like, I have a great squad here. We have a lot of talent. We just need to put some shape on it. And then if it was a film, it would be like 3 months later, and it was like, yeah, we need 10 new players at least. And I wish the new manager very well. And I think Eric's the right man for the job. The same guy who said once earlier, as you said, Adrian, maybe I'll take the job myself. But the reason I like him is that the home truth aspect of it is very cathartic for Manchester United fans who have suffered with this shite for 9 years. And I know it's, you could say it's not the most professional thing to do, to come out publicly and even subtly the way he does it, complain about the players and maybe their attitude and their commitment to the cause. I don't know. Time will tell in 5 years' time if this was a necessary part of United's history. But I don't think he should lose any respect about what he's done in his football
No, but career, everybody should go their separate ways after the Debs.
I really don't think that this is his fault, what's happened in the last 6 months. I think he's done his best what he can. Possibly foolish to a point. In the first place, he's only managed for 2 seasons the last 10. But I don't blame Rangnick in this.
No, but if that's his best, where is the recommendation to keep him on? And he seems
that's not his role.
He seems like a lovely fella, but I mean, I've absolutely no idea what he's added to Manchester United.
When he steps back and oversees the actual whole operation, which is what he's been very successful at in the last decade.
So what's he doing on the sideline?
Yeah, but this will be the start of it now this summer. For the sideline thing, like, you know, you go back to Antonio Conte was available. If they really wanted Maurizio Pochettino, just pay the compensation to PSG. But they thought, no, we'll do this interim agreement. And I have to say, I admit at the time, I thought it wasn't a bad idea, because the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer reign had ended so terribly. And I thought Rangnick can maybe stabilise it. And actually he did initially. It wasn't very exciting football, but the leaking of the goals stopped. There was a lot of 1-0s and 1-alls. It wasn't extremely exciting. It's not why you become a Manchester United fan, because of a sturdy defence. But the problem is, in the last month or so, that's gone out the window too. But I do kind of enjoy, as strange as it is to say, I enjoy his demeanour of, like, what do you want me to do with this bunch?
I think he's added to it on that level, like the theatre around Manchester United. I find him very, very funny. And I find him very. I'd listen to a lot of Rangnick, and I know he's not intentionally being funny, but it is very amusing, I think. Not on the level of Roy Keane last night, of course. He was about to launch a full tirade into Ralf Rangnick, who was about to double job between club and international. He was like, oh, I mean, he's a consultant. That's just a murky title. We can't be saying that. What's interesting, what makes this obviously worse for Manchester United fans like Colm here, is the other news yesterday of Jurgen Klopp, as you mentioned there. And I wonder, are we at a place now, looking at Liverpool, where Manchester United were in 2001, 2002, where, say, Liverpool fans, or maybe even Arsenal fans at that point, were like, Ferguson's gone. He's talking about retiring at the end of the season. 10 years later, Manchester United still the dominant team. Maybe it won't be another 10 years with Jurgen Klopp at the helm, but we all thought, 2024, that's it, done. It kind of felt like a done thing. But he seems like they've got this whole new lease of life. He's gonna he's done this before the end of the season, which for me is really important, because he's now got a bunch of time off where there's no summer football for the first time in a couple of years, after presumably winning maybe 1 or 2 more trophies, and he'll just come into next season totally renewed, and Liverpool will be as strong as ever at the end of next season. If that doesn't make Manchester United fans more depressed, then I don't know what will. And the fact that it could go on for years and years and years and years, and it's just a bad day all around for them yesterday.
The classy way even that he announced it, like, coming on, like, you wouldn't see Fergie coming on singing "Don't Look Back in Anger" like some sort of Manchester classic. He sang, what was it, the Beatles song? I'm in love with you and I feel fine.
Oh, actually.
Beautiful. Like, I mean, just the classy nature of the man. Like, that's how it all should be done. And I've no dog in the fight, so I'm neither supporter of one or the other.
Why can't Rangnick do that? Why can't he just
yeah, what's wrong? Well, like, United go with, like, Sanchez playing the piano. Liverpool have this lovely organic moment, which you feel he just sort of came up with off the top of his head. But, like, look, the thing about Klopp, and we should luxuriate in that for Liverpool fans, and I think if you're just a general football fan, it's a good thing for the Premier League that Jurgen Klopp has signed up for another couple of years. But, like, it's the club of his life, isn't it? Like, it's the Fergie United, it's the Jose and Chelsea probably. Like, and I know Pep was talking about during the week, that was it during the week or last week, that he'll probably sign up for another couple of years with United, with City. It doesn't feel like that's the club of his life necessarily, given the success that he's had with his own club, but it's the club of his life for Klopp. It's just an incredible thing. And, like, you talk about the succession or the future of Liverpool, like, he'll be there for another 4 years. The guts of the squad that he has at the minute will be sort of like, it's a young enough kind of a squad. There'll be obviously a couple of big names gone out of it, but you can see, like, there's some reports on the papers this morning about, like, it struck fear into the other clubs around the Premier League. Like, it probably has, to be fair. They're around for the next...
It's just beating them when they're already down, I think, rather than striking fear. I think that the point of fear is long past when it comes to Liverpool and Manchester City.
Can I give you my crumb of comfort?
Yes.
On Jurgen Klopp extending his contract from the perspective of a Manchester United fan or any rival fan.
No, please get deluded.
Yeah, thank you. There's nothing to say that he's definitely going to stay until 2026. So maybe, right, bear with me here.
Apart from his newly signed contract.
Bear with me here. He's extended his contract by 2 years in order to attract a better player over the next couple of transfer windows, because maybe he's thinking, well, if the players know I'm leaving in 2024, and a year ago I kind of hinted that I would and leave at the end of my contract, well, then maybe we won't get as good a player because I won't be there to manage them. So I'll extend my contract by 2 years, but I actually still have every intention of leaving in
But that's just a conspiracy theory on the level of
but it is.
That was a tasty crumb of comfort.
Also, can we just timestamp this, that if it does happen in 2 years' time,
I think we could have every Friday morning slot here with some random conspiratorial thought from Colm.
It's just a thought. It's just a thought, maybe. Now, unfortunately, what will probably actually happen is that he won't just stay until 2026, but he might do a bit of an Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger on it and stay here for a couple of decades, because I think by all accounts his family are very happy where they're living, which is the most important thing.
Ula's very happy, he said. He told
Ula's happy.
Liverpool TV yesterday. If you look at it in 4 years' time, your conspiracy theory notwithstanding, because I would definitely feel in the opposite sort of camp, where if they stay fit and don't get lured away by bigger clubs from in terms of the starting sort of 11, 12, 13 players that he could be rotating, Alisson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk might still just be going in their positions. Robertson probably in the pace that's needed for his position. He's probably gone. He'll be 32 at that point. Kanate will be in his prime. Fabinho and Henderson will be gone. James Milner will still be playing. Right? He'll be sort of close to 40 and he'll still be around. Thiago is gone. Salah probably gone. Mane as well. But Jota will be in his late 20s, banging them in. Luis Diaz the same. Firmino will probably have moved off to some retirement home like Newcastle. Jones and Elliott, who knows about those. The point being that he won't need to totally, even in 4 years' time, entirely reinvent that squad. When you look at the quiet way they've gone about maintaining the squad over the last couple of years, with Diaz arriving in, the emergence of Jota and those players, I think I would be worried if I was a anything but a Liverpool fan.
Can I give you another crumb of comfort?
Okay.
Michael Edwards is going this summer, and one of those reasons.
To Manchester United, because Rangnick's trying to get him alongside to work with him in the office buddies. That'll be a great signing. With Klopp, maybe he won't stay that long.
He will. The connection. There is no bigger connection between a manager and a club anywhere in world football than bigger than that connection right now. So I actually believe that Shankly will never be touched for what he did with the club. He totally reinvented it. He brought success, and huge success at that time. He will never be touched. But the Klopp statue is already guaranteed, right? Another 4 years, probably at least 1-2 more Premier League titles, could win another European Cup. At that point, he's starting to reach the success levels of Shankly. He could well become the most successful manager ever of Liverpool. That's what we're talking about.
Name the stadium after him.
Yeah, he'll have
at least to stand, I would think.
He'll have to do a bit more than that, CV-wise, Wikipedia-wise.
A huge amount.
He's only won one Premier League and one Champions League. He has to keep going for a fair bit.
One Premier League. Yeah, so he's another 2 leagues to win.
Do you know what?
If he wins another Champions League and an FA Cup, then he's past Shankly in terms of success.
I think he's getting carried away, right? I think he's having a great night out in the pub, right? And he's about to go home, and then the lads with him are like, "I'll just have one more." What time are you working tomorrow? Just have one more. And he was like, go on, I'll have one more. And he's going to wake up in the morning with a massive hangover next season. Mm-hmm. He's going to wake up, massive hangover, and he's like, why did I sign this new contract? I was having such a great time. But it's like that Wall Street analogy, right? Is it like if your stocks keep doing well and you're making money, you think, I'm always going to make money on every punt I make. Klopp's thinking, we're never going to lose again. I'm going to sign a new contract. But they will lose again.
I liked your leaving cert analogy. That last one makes absolutely no sense.
You're having a great time in the pub. And it's very difficult to go home when you're having a brilliant time.
Are the pints before or after the Debs?
The Debs?
Yeah.
No, that's United. United are having the Debs.
Klopp's not skulking around.
No. Eric Ten Hag's at the Debs.
As a pure red, seen all European Cup wins, says Paul McGee. Klopp is Shankly 2.0. Peter G on YouTube, good morning to you. I feel like the Office spin-off following Ralf Rangnick dealing with the characters of Manchester United would do pretty well. That is good. I'm having that analogy straight off the bat. And then Dave Cos on YouTube is offering another crumb of comfort for all non-Liverpool fans out there this morning. Jesus, lads, Liverpool might end up the season after winning only the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. And I'm hearing the commentary being like, Liverpool are on the verge of a historic quadruple. They've only won the League Cup at the time of speaking.
That Chelsea last night, do you see them beating Liverpool in the FA Cup final for a start?
No, I don't think so. Chelsea are FA Cup specialists this century. And then they'll play Manchester City in the Champions League final. And then if Pep doesn't go on a jazz solo and put,
Big if.
Goodwin and holding midfield ahead of Radri or Fernandinho, then Man City could win that, and then Man City will probably win the league. So then
What
you're
did Liam Brady say?
What's this fraud doing staying on for 2 more years? Like, Liverpool will go nowhere. No trophies
If
to be
my
seen
auntie
for it.
had, you know yourself. There's a lot of ifs there, lads, and the body of evidence.
No,
is,
it's the
all with Liverpool
quadruple.
at the
The
minute.
quadruple is if my auntie so far. As the kind of speak.
Yassim says his area of expertise, this is on Rangnick, I presume, is being a football director. His ability to temporarily manage a garbage team shouldn't stand against him for a role he actually excels at. David says Ralf has shown exactly what Manchester United are. Paul says the demise of the Manx is a beautiful thing to see. You'll never walk alone. If not for Ronaldo at 37 years of age, they'll be battling relegation with Everton. Good morning, gents, he says. Also we have Shifty Lad, good morning to you. Morning, he says, watching NFL draft on. I'm a Jets fan and seemingly we've done well. I'm a lifelong Manchester United fan. Can't help liking Klopp. Wow.
No, it's
bombshell there. I want to see him under pressure though. How angry Klopp reacts would be gas crack. We've already got good insight into that at various points or another. I did watch a little bit of the draft, the start of the draft last night, which of course you are a resident expert in on, having been there. And
It was in Vegas.
excelled.
It's the 3-year anniversary of your video.
They had various people sort of sidling up the red carpet, celebrities who I hadn't a clue who they were, who had a lot of work done. Donny Osmond was actually one of them, and they'd come up and sort of do their little bit and sidle off. I didn't actually see any of the action after that.
You know what, the NFL draft has completely lost its soul. Like, you just have people going on a jolly, going for a piss up basically at the NFL draft. It's completely lost what it's all about, which is good old fashioned gridiron.
Would you go back? You were in New Orleans, were you?
No, that was in Nashville.
Nashville.
That was like a pretty important part of the whole thing, Adrian. I can't believe you've forgotten.
Right, Colm, you'll be back into us later on to have a rant. I'm understood about Kerry people everywhere, so we'll look forward to that a little bit later in the show. It's gone 10 to 8 this morning, and you are watching OTB AM, brought to you live each morning by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. Here's what's happening across the show this morning between now and 10 this morning. Ronan O'Gara standing by live on the line, and we'll get his thoughts on pretty interesting times in the European Cup and at Munster as well. Our GAA Quick Picks for the weekend coming your way at shortly after that this morning. Just after 10 past 8. We'll have Will and Tommy on the line for that. The sports pages, 8:30, plenty of coverage of the Katie fight this weekend, which we'll take you through at that stage. We'll have sports news with Cahill at 20 to 9. Matt Jarvis, the former England international, will join us on the line too. We'll have a little bit more chat, I'm sure, about Manchester United after that performance last night, and about Liverpool as well at 10 to 9 this morning. A live crappy quiz at 10 past 9. Mild-mannered Mick will be alongside myself and Nathan.
Yes.
Nathan at 10 past 9 for a live crappy quiz, and then Stephen Ward from the show last night coming your way at 9:30. That is what's coming up on the show this morning.
Yeah, at 7:52 on this Friday morning, it is time to turn our attention to rugby, and Ronan O'Gara is on the line. Ronan, good morning to you.
Hey, Eoin. Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Big weekend this weekend for yourselves, playing Toulouse. 5 wins on the bounce for your team at the moment, only 1 defeat in your last 9. I presume that just leads to the sense of momentum rolling up against one of the best teams in the top 14.
Yeah, it does, exactly. Yeah, 9 o'clock tomorrow night in the stadium. So it's a football stadium in Toulouse, so it's not their home ground. So it's been sold out since a few weeks, and it's a bit of a bogey team for us, I suppose, Toulouse, and the fact that since on the last 2 seasons we played them 5 times and we haven't managed to get the better of them. So there's an opportunity to hopefully do something with that tomorrow night. But as you say, at home, it's in their home. It's not easy, but we're in good form. There's a good buzz in our camp, and the boys seem to be enjoying it, and that's why you get involved in sport, for opportunities like this. So we'll go down there looking to play.
What have you learned over those 5 games in terms of trying to stop those halfbacks that everybody obviously talks about with Toulouse?
It's weird in the fact that the show goes on, you know, like losing 2 finals, it feels nearly like 5 years ago in my mind, and the fact that it's yet so near, yet so far, because when you consider we lost 4 of our 5 first league games, and under the pump in terms of selections and needing points, and I suppose your mindset has to be a little bit different because you need to get in the top 6, and I don't know how closely you're following it this year, but like I don't think there's ever been a top 14 like it where 3 games away from the end of the regular season, and 9 teams can qualify for the 6 positions. So there's I suppose huge excitement over here for that competition, because the boucle is bigger than the European Cup. So we need to be in the top 6. You look at it, I think if Toulouse win this weekend, they'll be equal points with us. And both of us are kind of looking to scramble into it, because Montpellier are ahead, and little things, I suppose, become big things at this stage of the season. 1 and 2 go straight to a semi-final. While it's still possible for us, obviously, if we were to win our remaining 3 games, which is entirely doable. Going back, I suppose, to where we started, we have momentum, and I think we're playing well, and we gave our French internationals kind of the weekend off last week. A lot of them got away to the States, and I think Tunisia for a bit of a break, so they've come in this week and added a little bit of energy, and we need that now for the final, I suppose, running.
We were speaking to you a few weeks ago, Ronan, and I think after the first of the 3 games against Bordeaux, and obviously there was the situation in terms of you were going to go in front of a hearing to see whether there be any disciplinary action taken over the next little while. You seemed totally relaxed about it at the time, that the team was going to be able to, that it wasn't even an issue whatsoever for the team. Was that the truth? Was that exactly how you felt, given that you did end up winning all 3 games? Did you know it was going to be okay, basically?
No, because you're never sure, because you're dealing with emotions, and you're dealing with human beings, and that's the sport, you know. I think that's what makes it so fascinating. It's the same as goal kicking in some, I suppose, components. For me, some days you're practicing, you feel like the exact same technique, and it's so easy, and you can nearly do it with your eyes closed. And then you go other days and you're kind of pushing the ball right and you're left, and you're going, why are you doing that? Because you feel like you're doing exactly the same, I suppose, process or steps or cues to do it. And it's the same with coaching a team, and the fact that you're just kind of hoping for transfer. I suppose what was evident for me in my early days in La Rochelle was how do we expect to play well on Saturday if we're not going well Monday to Friday? Well, I think now we kind of have, I suppose, a few components of our game are strong, which you can rely on when pressure comes on, and then you see that on a Saturday. So the Bordeaux game, the big game, was obviously the league game. And then we went into Europe back-to-back, which was the first time, obviously, as you know, in that competition. And we played on a Saturday at 2 o'clock. Down there, and it was our best performance of the season so far. We walloped them. But we played, I suppose, a high-tempo game with a lot of intensity, with a lot of, I suppose, physical players, which put ended up us being 18 points ahead for the second leg, which meant nearly the second game was dead if we started well, which we couldn't have been probably more unimpressive for the first 40 minutes at home, but we kind of regrouped at half time and I wouldn't say fell across the line, but got the job done really well, in the fact that we could make changes for Perpignan, which was the game the week after. But in that game, we made a lot of changes and we didn't get the bonus point offensively. So, you know, you're always scratching your head a little bit because it's never straightforward.
Did you get to give Christophe Urias, did you get to have that glass of wine, or did you give him a thumbs up after the trilogy was over?
No, I think it was a good message in the fact that, you know, over here, some people, I suppose, just love talking to the media. He'd be one of them. What was important for me, the supporters, the club, I think, was 3-0. We'll see them again this season, so there's a bigger day ahead as well. So, you know, I think I keep reminding the players and ourselves that we're in the business of high performance. So that's what we need to do.
Can I ask, from your pre-match analysis of Toulouse for this weekend, does that give you hope that Munster will have a better outcome against them this season than they did in Europe last season?
Whoa, I never even think like that. I've enough in my plate. It's like the reality, I suppose, when you're managing 40 players and trying to get the best out of them, and you got to remember, every time you announce 23, you know, I mean, 40% of your group are bitterly disappointed and aren't really open to you for the next 48 hours because you've disappointed them. You've essentially you know what I mean, stuff the dagger into their heart, because this is what they do. This is what makes them feel good, by representing their club and showing what they can bring. And by you doing that, you don't give them that opportunity. So I have to manage, I suppose, their emotions, and that's the most important thing in players. And the fact that if they're feeling good, average, top, miserable, it's very different for every single one. And you multiply that by 40 players and 30 staff, you got to get I suppose, be very pretty good at processing emotions and making decisions on the run in terms of how you, I suppose, can get your troops on side with you for the weekend. So what we will do is what we do every week is that we look at the opposition, and we look at their threats, and the preparation genuinely for Perpignan, it would be the same as it is for Toulouse. But what is noticeable is that Toulouse have more threats than Perpignan, and they have the greatest threat in the game, Dupont. So yeah, we have a system, a defensive system, which won't change this weekend. But will it be tested? Yes, most definitely, because you've got a guy who's I suppose, who's very capable and regularly breaks a lot of rules and makes his team and himself look better than so many other players in the world. So we know where they've threats. They've 10 Grand Slam of the 20, or 10 of the 23 of the Grand Slam winning team. They've a lot of exceptional individuals, but I suppose what I'm trying to convince our guys and myself is that the strength of the group and the strength of the team and believing in our fundamentals can overpower individual threats.
How is he breaking rules? Is it around the fringes, or what are you seeing?
Yeah, exactly, Adrian. You know, like it's there's nothing on, and then all of a sudden, bang off his left foot, bang off his right foot, fend, and he's gone. And like what people underestimate, it's not. You know what I mean, with the greatest of respect, it's not Peter Stringer who's carrying the ball. It's a guy who's incredibly powerful. You know what I mean? It's probably, there's probably similarities between Brian O'Driscoll near the line to Dupont with the ball. You know, that's how much of a dangerous ball carrier he is. He's got incredible power, and he's got very, very good footwork. But I think what's probably been underappreciated by a lot of people is his kicking meters. I think in the England game that he kicked for 600 meters in the game alone, which, you know, his capacity to kick off either foot from 22 to 22 is a good tool to have.
And is it that power, I suppose, might be underestimated to a degree by opposition, although increasingly you would wonder how that might be the case. But is it almost a case that the referees are underestimating that? They're like, oh, here's this nippy scrum half, and you give him a bit of leeway, and you give him an inch and he's taking a mile.
Who, the referee?
Yeah, well, in the sense of when you're saying about him breaking the rules or whatever and being able to get away with that.
No, nothing. Sorry, there's a misunderstanding there. In terms of, we have defensive rules, in terms of how we kind of set up around the ruck. So there's kind of certain, I suppose, cues, criteria, fundamentals you give your players around a ruck and rugby, what they've got to do, you know? So for us, we could still be in place, and Dupont could actually break our rules, is what I'm trying to explain, you know, and the fact that we're in place, there doesn't seem to be a gap, and all of a sudden he's gone, and once he breaks the front line, then you're in trouble.
Ronan, I just wanted to ask you about the situation at Munster at the moment. Have you seen a bit of a better vein of form from Munster, a bit of a better version of Munster, since there's been just a little bit more clarity in the coaching situation over the last little while?
I'm not too sure. Is it linked? But what I think is very obvious was how well they played against Ulster. I watched that game in its entirety last weekend, and Munster looked very, very good. I suppose the one surprise was when they were so on top that they didn't kick on. But then I suppose I had to remind myself the game was in the Kingspan, and it was Ulster, a very good team in front of them. But Munster, I suppose, really had the upper hand early enough in the game. They defended really well. Their attack with Dialandi and Carberry looked very, very interesting, and they played with a lot of more wit than usual, I thought, but I'm not watching them every week for 80 minutes, so I have to be accurate in what I say as well. But they, I think they looked like they played a little bit more freely, and I think definitely reduced the amount of times they box kicked, but they looked very sharp. They looked to have threats all over the pitch, and some of the forwards were very impressive. Is it Kendellen? Is that how you pronounce it? Looks like an incredibly exciting prospect. Gavin Coombs wasn't involved, so you pair the two of them up with Peter O'Mahony, with Jack O'Donoghue, John Klein. The front row were good against Ulster, so it's you know what I mean, they're finding their form at exactly the time you need to be finding their form, and the game in Dublin will be a very, very interesting game.
It's looking like Mike Prendergast is going to be the front runner to get the attack coach job, and Dennis Leamy obviously linked with the defence coach job for next season's coaching ticket at Munster. How excited would you be about those appointments? Yeah,
that's fantastic. I know the two guys really well, but like I have a fair idea that Mike is talking to them, but Mike is in contract with Racing, so you'd hope that you know what I mean, that Munster understand what that means, because this is the guy they need, and if there's a guy to get with him, it's Dennis Leamy. Dennis Leamy left an indelible mark on me as a player, as a person, and I like that. He's a perfect example of a guy with ambition, because everyone in Munster was absolutely shocked that Dennis Leamy would go to Leinster to coach. Dennis Leamy is smart. He wants to be world class. He goes to an environment that I think gives people or coaches the potential to be world class with the expertise they have in that building. And if Munster are smart, they'd get this guy, because this guy is an absolute gem. I think, give him enough praise. He's when he spoke in our dressing room, it was so accurate, it was so to point, and it was like, just as I said in the show before, it left you with, oh, please speak more often, Dennis, please speak more often. But I think very, very wise, very, very interesting guy, and I kind of obviously haven't been following what's going on much at home, but I saw one article where those two were paired up, and for me, that's the absolute ticket to get excited about. These two would be a fantastic combination.
Right, the Leamy coaching graph is really interesting. I mean, from schools to club, it almost felt from the outside looking in at Leamy's path that he was borderline falling through the cracks as a coach, considering what you're saying there and how much of a presence that he's known to be within people who've played with him and who have coached him.
No, that would be the biggest, I think. Everyone would make on. This guy is unbelievably calculated, hugely driven, but has that, I suppose, I don't know, as a tip cuteness, or as a tip shyness, or as a tip ruthlessness inside him, in the fact that he knows exactly what he wants, where he wants to get there, how he wants to get there. Would have a lot of I suppose self-confidence, but humility underneath it all. And Dennis has a fantastic brain. I loved playing with him. I loved team meetings with him, and I've been in contact with him since both of us have retired. And all Dennis sought was an opportunity, and he didn't. I think he was probably incredibly hurt by what happened in his early coaching probably career, been not given an opportunity in Munster, and I think that was probably the moment where, okay, well, I'm on my own now, I've got to make decisions for myself. And he got an opportunity with Leinster. Leinster, being the organisation they are, incredibly smart in this, they targeted, because they knew this guy can go and add huge value. What Dennis Leamy now is, but he's in the senior coaching group in Leinster, so You mean I suppose with the big advantage for Munster is that he has a young family. I think he commutes from Tip to Dublin, so that's a massive, I suppose, advantage for Munster. But in terms of I suppose weighing up it for me as a coach, it's not an easy decision to leave Leinster.
They have a bit of a blank canvas, Munster, in terms of what the roles might be. What will he do you think, or what's best suited to him?
He's suited to so many. Adrian, that isn't the issue. It's about getting the right people, I think. For me, then you can give him roles and responsibilities. But if you've got, you know what I mean, turkeys, it's hard to put a turkey to lead something. And I'm not aiming that at anybody at all. I'm just saying that once you have the quality of person in Mike and Dennis, then they know the rugby inside out. It'll be very, very straightforward.
Can I just ask you as well on the Roundtree piece, because I don't think we've spoken to you since that's been confirmed. You went through something very similar yourself last year, obviously, in terms of moving from coach up to the big gig. Is it just a case of, like, he's worked around plenty of camps and he's seen all of it up close and personal, but doing the gig, is it just a matter of getting on with it and there's no amount of words that can replace actually doing it, and that by virtue of that a bit of patience is required from Munster fans?
Yeah, I just think too that the guy is 51 years of age. He's in rugby all his life. He's in top level rugby. He gets rugby. He understands what's required. What I'm learning in my role too, it's about do the things that you're really good at and get the other people to do the things that you're not really good at, and then it works. But don't think you're really good at everything, because if you think you're really good at everything, you won't succeed. So, you know what I mean, I think where I struggle, I suppose, is I'm really good in the short term, I think. But like in terms of people asking me for pre-season games, that doesn't interest me at the minute. And I put my hand up and I said to my sporting director, can you have a look at that and get that boxed off for me? I think there's so many ways of doing it. And I said it comes back to, I suppose, having clarity in what your roles and responsibilities are. Once that's established, once you have secure people who want to share information, then you can kind of change lanes and cross ideas, and then it becomes very interesting. But I think Graham Rowntree, from pure rugby pedigree, he's top class, and as a bloke, I think he's top class, and give this guy a chance. He'll be great.
Good stuff. Thanks a million.
Cheers. See you guys. Thank you.
On the line there from La Rochelle. Interesting stuff on Dennis Leamy and the possibility of Mike Prendergast rocking up there sometime soon. It's suddenly sort of developing into a bit of a dream team, isn't it?
Yeah, you obviously don't want to jump out in front of it too quickly in case it doesn't happen, but the Leamy insights there are really interesting, and the reasons why they're interesting is because I'm probably guilty of not knowing a whole pile about his coaching career to date and not knowing enough about the man. And as Ronan said there, maybe Munster didn't make enough of the resource that they had in Leamy, who was keen to get into coaching. But maybe in the long run that'll benefit Munster in an ironic way, given the fact that he's seen much more with grassroots systems in Ireland, has seen what it's like to be in the backroom team in Tipperary hurling. Yeah. Obviously helped them to a 2016 All-Ireland win.
That was S&C, wasn't it? Was that?
I'm not sure, I can't remember. I just remember being part of that long list of backroom people involved in that squad. So he's had a very interesting post-playing career, and it does sound like he'd be quite the acquisition for Munster at the moment.
Well, look at it. I think we might have spoken about this last week, but the similarities between it and Manchester United are not quite as stark, but certainly you could put yourself in the position of being one of the rival supporters, let's say, and you know, this looks like Munster getting their act together.
All they need now really is to sign Mac Hansen.
Shrewd move on. Interesting point though. Right, it is nearly 8:15. It's Friday morning. You're watching OTB AM. It's Eoin and Adrian with you all the way until 10, and we've lots still to come. Live crappy quiz a little bit later in the show. Coming up after the break though, we're going to have the eagerly anticipated GAA Quick Picks. Myself, Eoin, Tommy and Will. First of all, John Giles was with Nathan last night, as he is every Thursday night, and off the ball in questioned whether Rodri really is the best option for Pep at Man City.
Rodri in particular is someone, like, that's one of the main things he brings. He sort of keeps it simple, keeps hold of possession, and that they're not quite as gung-ho at times as Liverpool are, but you feel at the moment maybe it's the opposite.
Well, I'm not a big fan of Rodri's, Nathan. Okay, he can get the ball and he can pass it A to B, but he never gets on the ball, and he never, like you were talking about Thiago there. Now he's hitting passes from left, right to right at the moment, and just lately, I know. But I never see Rodri do anything like that. He passes it from A to B, right enough. But there's times when you've got to, open it up and score a goal yourself, make a goal. I mean, if you even the other day, did you ever see him make a goal?
He's the one who assists the assister, isn't that his job? He sets up the guy who sets up the goal.
Well, it's supposed to be, but that's a false position. There's no such thing as that job. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you get a midfield player, there's nothing wrong with having 3 midfield players who can be creative.
Yeah.
Some more than others. But I see, I'm not in favour, I never have been in favour of the holding midfield player, Nathan. There's not enough expected of them. Like when he gets on the ball, his first thing is, maybe he's been told to do it, right, don't give it away, pass it square. And I must be honest, I'm watching the match the other night, and sometimes it drives me mad, because he could turn on the ball, Nathan, and put somebody through, or go and score a goal himself. City have a lot of the ball, and he does a job in a certain way in the middle of the field, but it doesn't do half enough, or near half enough.
And do you think Johnny has the ability to do that? Do you think he has that in his locker, and he's going with what Guardiola's asking? Like, is he doing the job Guardiola wants? Well,
I haven't seen him change it. So, like, what he wants is the coach to him. I'm giving you my opinion of what I would want. And if you're talking about midfield players, sometimes if you turn on the ball, Nathan, that's your first stop. That should be your first thing as a midfield player. You can receive it in a bad position, you've got to stop it and play it back. But when you can get turned on the ball, you can't put somebody through unless you get turned on the ball and see where they are. But he's obviously Pep is happy with what he's doing. I'm just giving you my opinion. I wouldn't be happy at all with what he's doing as a midfield player.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
The team of OTB are taking on a challenge that requires fitness, a challenge that demands months of training and preparation, a challenge that requires knowing when to push and when to focus on recovery. Triathlons aren't easy, but having a fitness coach helps.
Whoop are helping us non-athletes.
Bod is a pro.
Yeah, as I was saying, helping us non-athletes feel like pros in our challenge to complete a triathlon this summer.
OTB Sports, in partnership with Whoop. Unlock your inner potential with Whoop, the personalised digital fitness and health coach that provides you with actionable feedback on your sleep, training, recovery and health. Check out whoop.com for more.
FBD Insurance knows this sound spells trouble for van drivers. But if you're an existing FBD customer, you'll get 15% off a new van insurance policy. It's how we're keeping you and your van on the road. Visit fbd.ie or contact your local branch. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Terms and conditions apply. 15% discount available on new commercial motor policies only when an existing FBD farm, business, car or home policy is in place. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Commercial motor insurance is underwritten by FBD Insurance plc.
This is Sport Ireland Campus, and here is where it all starts. From the little ones learning to the high-performance athletes leading. Here we go to play, to practice, to progress. Here is where communities in the nation come together to compete, to win, and to belong. Here we go to the next level, then on to the world stage. This is Sport Ireland Campus, and here we go. Visit sportirelandcampus.ie to be a part of it.
OTB AM.
With Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
Some of these critics, these pundits,
I absolutely adore them lads. I have unbelievable time for them, but they're a great bunch, but it's not acceptable.
they like to play the hard man when they're on it. It's not very pleasant when you're trying to manage a team. All you're looking for is a bit of civility and a bit of decency, but they just miss you like you have nothing to do with the bloody occasion.
8:20 Friday morning. Good morning to you, wherever it is you are at. Do keep your comments coming into us. Plenty flooding in about Liverpool, Manchester United, and plenty more besides as well. If any thoughts about the GAA, particularly for the next 10 or 15 minutes, do lash them into us. Myself and Eoin are now joined for the weekly Quick Picks. Will and Tommy, good morning to you.
Morning, lads.
Morning.
What's happening?
How are you? All good.
Yeah. We do want to remind our...
Sunday, Friday have a bank holiday, Adrian. All looks like it's set up for a nice weekend, and now we'll have a strike rate of probably around 15% of the quick picks to ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the scoreboard in a minute, Will. But before all of that, I want to remind our audience, and maybe it could be breaking news to some of our audience on, that the football pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue are hitting the road this summer, and we want our audience to be there. Now, this is, I must confess, Tommy's 15th time to be on air to talk about this, so we can put that out there, Tommy. But first stop on this summer tour, you're off to Castlebar.
Going to Castlebar, Adrian. We're really excited. It's June the 2nd. Tickets are available now. Are they still available, or we'll find out in a little while? I think they were going very fast yesterday. So tickets are available now, and it's in Mayo, but it's not going to be just about Mayo. So if you're from a neighbouring county, it's the week after the Connacht final. Qualifiers are coming up that weekend. I've had a couple of clubs onto me already. They're thinking about getting a bus down, bit of a team bonding session, stay in Castlebar that night. June 2nd is the Thursday before the bank holiday weekend.
I want to give you a few recommendations for pubs on there as well. He's basically Castlebar's.
Well, there is only one pub that matters in Castlebar, of course, which is McBurn's. Will there be medium and chips for the wider public that night? I wonder, rather than just people who've done the town of service.
Remind us what the medium is.
It's half a pint. Well, if he likes you, he'll fill it up to about 7/8, and chips from Supermax.
I think only
half a pint of what?
Guinness.
He pours half a pint and serves it up to you.
Adrian just doesn't get it.
I mean, I want people to go to the show, but
Adrian just doesn't get it.
Adrian, you wouldn't be getting.
I'm not surprised whatsoever.
People get it.
Adrian will be. Are you going to bring a case of wine with you, and you're going to bring your own cheese?
No. Listen, I'm that's proper Guinness territory. But I mean, I can't. The half pint stuff I just can't have.
What's your drink of choice?
It's terrible. Guinness.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Guinness or a nice glass of red wine.
I'm sure it is.
OTBSports.com/events. You get more of this type of banter on the stage on the night. Tommy's guaranteeing it.
Well, no, I'm guaranteeing points. It's an over 18s event, just to let people know. So I'm guaranteeing points.
Castlebar, June 2nd, place to be. You might or might not see Eoin. He's got form down there, so it could be a special appearance. OTBSports.com/events to get your tickets now. Right, quick picks. Have we got a table of what happened last week?
No.
We don't, right. Thanks, Will. That's I'll take whatever help I'm given. Are we starting afresh this week? Are we Tommy is sort of half running the show and not really running the show, and Colm's not running the show. We'll have that conversation again. Let's get straight into the quick picks then.
More reboots than Spider-Man at this stage to quick picks this year.
We have no other option but to get headlong into it, and we're going to start with the hurling. We're going to start with Clare, Cork against Clare, I should say, and this is split. Owen, myself and Tommy are all going Clare. Aisling and Will are going Cork, and there are a couple of these fixtures that were actually really hard to call. My logic here, Will, and I'll throw it to you to begin with, was for Clare was last weekend winning at Semple. Tony Kelly was my response when I came to predicting games last year and predicting Clare to win, and Cork just hard to judge at the minute. Any team beaten by Limerick are hard to judge, only that it was 11 points, and that was kind of what swung it for me in Clare's direction.
Yeah, the funny thing about last weekend was that it wasn't even the Tony Kelly show. Now, Tony Kelly did an awful lot, particularly with his running to create space for others, but it wasn't a case of Superman Tony last week. It was really Peter Duggan and Shane O'Donnell coming back into the team and adding an extra dimension to that Clare side against Tipperary. Now, Tipperary did not play well, but that does not take away from the fact that Clare were excellent. John Conlon, again, is settling in very well at centre-half back, and some of his runs forward were creating chances for others. Duggan seemed to catch every long ball that Clare put in, and Clare put in 3 goals. It was almost like a blitzkrieg attack against Tipperary. Now, in the second half, Clare offered up some chances to Tipperary that Cork's quick forward line will be hoping to maybe exploit this coming weekend. The reason I'm backing Cork, though, is that I'm half expecting a response from them after what happened against Limerick. They were able to go to Fode Island last weekend. They had the week off. They've been able to maybe dust themselves off after what was a pretty comprehensive defeat that they took against Limerick in round 1. And Cork's backs are up against the wall. If they lose this game, not ideal they have to go to Semple Stadium because of Ed Sheeran playing at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. They would much prefer this to be on Lee's side as opposed to having to go to a Semple Stadium where Clare picked up a win against Tipperary last week, as you mentioned. But I just think there's maybe a kick in Cork, and I'm backing them to provide a response. But to try and back this Cork team when you see how things went in the league final, how they went against Limerick in the 2 games that mattered so far, I realise that I'm probably going slightly against logic expecting this Cork team to do it, but I've been impressed in some other games by Cork this year. It's just if we can see a performance like, say, the second half against Kilkenny in the league semi-final, or some of the games like Galway at home, which they played in the league, this Cork team has more than enough ability to take down Clare, but by golly, I'm not confident about this pick whatsoever.
I think they're favourites, aren't they, Will, Cork, to win this game? But like,
yeah, just about. But like, this is not one that if I was going down to the bookmakers, I'd want to be putting a whole lot of money on if I was going to back Cork, because if Clare hurl like they did last week, and if Cork are in any way flaky whatsoever, Clare go 2 wins out of 2, and a team who the bookmakers had made 5th favourites to qualify out of Munster will be really well placed to qualify. So aside from just the game itself, this is a really important match in the shake-up for the qualification from the Munster Championship. If Cork lose, I think it's all but done for them, because I don't see them beating Waterford, and if Clare win, they're in a really strong place to qualify.
Definitely, as far as like literal like mini league games go, this feels close enough to knockout, and it feels if Cork lose, you're going to have Darragh O'Shea next week saying the Cork hurlers are also a disgrace, and if they win, it'll be like, oh, Cork are back. Are they actually the second best team in the country? So like, I think that's the spectrum of outcomes here with regards to a win or a loss, and then obviously the very black and white notion of an extra 2 points on the board. And I think whoever wins this game is going to qualify out of the group with Tip or with Limerick and with Waterford. So it's just such a massive game. Like, for me, when I pick Clare, it's a very simple thing that you look at Cork getting castigated for their defensive performance 2 weeks ago, and Clare getting lauded for their attacking performance last week. Unfortunately, from our prediction standpoint, it's rarely that simple, and Derek McGrath this morning is making the point that actually there's been too much focus on the Cork backs. It's about the forward effort, it's about what they've been doing in the middle third of the pitch that needs more of a magnifying glass put on it. And that's where you might not fear for Clare, but they're probably weaker in those departments, and they would be up front, certainly on the evidence of last week. So that makes me very, very confused about this. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just edging Clare.
The more Will was talking, the more I was going with my own prediction there. Galway Kilkenny next. Eoin, Aisling and Will all going Kilkenny, and myself and Tommy have made the wise choice here with Galway. And when you talk about Tommy agonising over which way to swing at this one, like the Kilkenny obviously edging them last year in the Leinster final, but generally over the last 4 or 5 years, Galway having just about the edge of them. You add in the Henry stuff, and it brought to mind actually the Brian O'Driscoll documentary that you chat with Henry that you produced last year, and the chat that he had in that. Do you remember he was talking about the Ballyhale stuff and how he would never be able to manage against his own, and that obviously was never going to apply at inter-county level, but it does tell you about the mindset of the man, and how I suppose, number one, how hard it's going to be for him, but number two, he'll want to drive it home to Kilkenny.
I agree with you. I think there could be a statement performance from Galway here this weekend. I think they're looking back much the same way Cork are looking back on that opening league game. I think they're going to come back with a response here. They were 6 points up on Wexford. They let it slip. Both teams had big wins last week against Westmeath and Laois. I don't think we can read much into that. I think part of I'm surprised that Kilkenny are favourites here. I'd like to get your take on this. Why are you strong in Kilkenny? I would feel that Galway possibly have it on them in the physicality stakes. I think that Galway are probably going to beat them when it comes to the long puck out. I think at times with Kilkenny there's a danger that we can build them up to be something that they were before. I don't think Kilkenny are the team that we've seen a couple of years ago. I just think that Galway are on the rise here and that they're going to take them.
Well, on the puck-out point, Galway have got the worst puck-out retention rate in the championship so far this year. Puck-out's actually been a big problem for them so far.
Have Kilkenny not been poor as well?
They've been better at winning secondary possession though after the puck out, and Kilkenny have been better at protecting their short puck out, or at least being effective with it. There's a really good piece if anyone wants to see it. I think I've plugged it probably in the hurling pod a couple of times now too, which is Sean Flynn's piece, which is Sean Flynn, the former Tipperary analyst who's put this together, that particularly Galway have got a problem where they go one step short and then don't get the ball up to the other end of the field. I think only 12% of their puckouts in the first couple of games have actually got into the opposition half, which has been a big problem when you consider, as Tommy has mentioned, that they've got a lot of big men in their half forward line. So in theory you would imagine that mixing up the puckouts and maybe going a bit longer might actually give them more ball retention, but so far they've been trying to work the ball through the lines. It's been, mixed effectiveness so far. Look, the thing is, I'd be a lot more confident about Galway if Conor Whelan was fit. And Conor Whelan's hamstring appears to be keeping him out for another week, maybe 2 weeks. So he's definitely going to miss this Kilkenny game. I think that strips a lot away from their full forward line. He would have kept Hugh Lawler incredibly well occupied this weekend in Salt Hill had he been fit to play. Galway have been just, again, very much the unknown entity is what's been said about Galway so far this year. Like against Wexford, as you mentioned, they're 6 points up going down the stretch, and even they've got a 4-point lead when it goes into injury time. They should have been closing out that game, and in the first half of that game they should have been far more clinical, which they weren't up front. But if it clicks for them, and like if Colm particularly starts to pull the strings further out the pitch, this Galway team have got all the ability to take down Kilkenny this weekend. But Kilkenny have been good, have been really, really good this year. And like I take Taggy Fogarty's point on OTBM earlier this week, which is that because of the way that the fixtures have fallen, really beating Dublin and Parnell Park is maybe the only big performance that Kilkenny have had to put in so far this year, because Waterford were already effectively qualified for the league final and they lost the league semi-final away from home against Cork. But Kilkenny have been solid, and I like the way that the fixtures fell for Kilkenny, because they needed their players to come back in, especially the Ballyhale players. They had Laois and Westmeath in the first 2 weeks of this round robin, able to just ease it back in, get TJ Reid his first championship start against Laois last weekend, and now they look primed to go across the Shannon and have an assault on Galway this weekend. I fancy Kilkenny by a couple of points, and Kilkenny should sweep out their fixtures and be into the final of Leinster. I think there's a very, very good chance that Kilkenny go 3 in a row in Leinster this year.
Yeah, I think I'm with him on that. I think if you're ever looking for a compass on life in general, you can always look to the Star Wars prequels, and what we have this week is Anakin versus Obi-Wan Kenobi, and what Star Wars tells us is that the apprentice will get beaten initially. He will literally have the legs cut from underneath him, but he might come back a more darker force at some point in the future and eventually gain his revenge. So this Cody versus Shefflin rivalry may be something that we see over the next little while. This week I'm picking Cody over Shefflin.
All right. It might only have a couple of years in it, of course, for obvious reasons, but we'll see. On to the football, the serious stuff, Tommy. So here's we go with Tyrone Derry to begin with, and it's Tyrone across the board, apart from Tommy. Now, I do have form, obviously, see Galway, for underrating the underdogs, but you're not going to get caught, Tommy. You're Derry all the way.
Wow.
I'm Derry all the way. Can you say I'm Derry all the way?
Well, you stand there in red and white. So
it's a big call from Tommy Rooney.
It is a big call. I just think this game is far closer than 3-1 or whatever the odds are. I think Tyrone are 1-3 on. Tyrone have had a game against Fermanagh, which is massive for them. And the last time we saw Derry, they had stuttered towards the end of that league campaign. But I just think Rory Gallagher has had his eye on Tyrone. He knew he'd be facing Tyrone, the All-Ireland champions, in the Ulster quarter-final. Rory Gallagher wants to win Ulster. He's a traditionalist. We had him on the football pod last year. Didn't want to hear anything about Proposal B because he wants to win Ulster. I just think that he's got this Derry side primed for this. I really do. Wasn't convinced by the Fermanagh performance by Tyrone. Those 2 goals they conceded late on, people can swat them away and say, oh, they'd switched off, or they were in a really strong position, and they're just... Championship football doesn't work like that. I just think things aren't 100% in that camp. I really don't. We know about the departures, and I'm not blowing it up beyond what it is. I just think that things aren't 100%. I think Conor McKenna being back, getting his suspension overturned is a big plus for them. I know Derry lost Kieran McFall, but Tyrone have lost 7 footballers in that camp that would be making a big difference in training or would be knocking on the door to get starting. I don't think that depth is there. Derry should have beaten Donegal last year. They have Shane McGuigan back. If McGuigan was there, they probably would be promoted and to be in Division 1 if he was there against Roscommon in the last couple of minutes. Probably would have scored that free. I'm back in Derry, boys.
Yeah, that's an interesting point on McGuigan, especially because I guess I kind of overlooked that when, like, one of my arguments here is that Derry tailed off at the end of the league. When you're missing your main scoring threat, chances are you're going to tail off at the end of the league. And like for me, I'm kind of using that as a sort of their form is on a bit of a dip, kind of like we were looking at Armagh at the end of the league, being like they're on a bit of a dip, and I think that kind of those chickens came home to roost last week a little bit for Armagh. So I'm kind of looking at Derry in the same way, and the fact that this hasn't been a rivalry recently. This used to be in the 90s. This was an absolutely ferocious rivalry. I think I speak for everybody when I say we want to see a fight this weekend. We want to see an all-out brawl this weekend, because that will signify that Tyrone versus Derry is back as a rivalry, and that will be the flag that to suggest that this thing is real and we have an actual contest. So that's the base we're operating off here, that we actually get a contest. I think it will be. I think Derry proved against Donegal last year they are able to mix it with the top teams, but I still think there's a long road for them to go before they actually beat one of these teams. Maybe they'll have travelled that and they'll get the job done this weekend, but I'm surprised you've actually gone for them to win the game as opposed to just saying it's going to be close to the weekend, Tommy.
And like also the Rory Gallagher wants to win Ulster, like, to use your analogy, Luke Skywalker wanted Darth Vader to be a loving father, but it was never going to happen.
Not to ruin that analogy, but he was the loving father.
He was.
Look at whatever.
He's great dad.
So what you're saying is Tommy's right after
he drank out of a coffee mug that said world's best dad.
Right. I mean, I actually, I'm buying the Tyrone are not all, might not be all that they're that they were last season, obviously, and the departures obviously will probably play out in the long run. I just don't believe it's against Derry. Westmeath, Longford. Let's have a gander. Tommy's not having that. That's fine. We've finally all concluded. We've all drawn the right conclusion on a game, and we've all gone for Westmeath. I really am.
Great.
This could be the high. When I talk about Liverpool earlier on, being at the high water mark of their trajectory, I feel that right now could be the high water mark of Westmeath summer, because I have to say that I have become disillusioned by predicting Westmeath to win games. They turned up at the end of the league. I mean, I don't even know if I feel as strongly as that, but let's go with that.
They didn't turn up against Longford, though, Adrian.
They did not. They scraped a draw against Fermanagh at the end. They beat Antrim up north, but, Will, as you absolutely rightly point out, that 4-point loss to Longford and Mullingar was the absolute kick in the stones that resulted in them not getting out of the riffraff, as I think I described it earlier in the year, of Division 3 and away from an area that they don't belong in. I have absolutely lost confidence in predicting with any sort of sense of certainty as what's going to happen with them, but like they are, to make a case for them, they are, along with Down and Offaly, amongst the highest ranked, obviously, the teams that are I'm talking about the Talton Cup now, in the certainty that Westmeath are going to get to a Leinster final and again lift themselves up by the collar. So look, I don't know. I'm hoping that this weekend, and it's a hope now rather than with any great confidence, but that we can keep the Sam Maguire fire burning, and that it's not back to the Talton Cup with us.
Longford beat you in the league.
Yeah, 4 points, but
that's what cost you promotion.
It totally did. It absolutely did. But maybe that was the kick in the arse they needed. That, this, we talked about it at that time, that like Longford are this county that are very wound up by the Westmeath rivalry, whereas Westmeath don't really care about it. And maybe Westmeath were just a bit complacent in a way that's been removed now.
It's interesting as well, lads, for this fixture. We talk about Shefflin against Cody, where you've got Billy O'Loughlin, who finished his club career playing with St. Lomans alongside the likes of Ronan O'Toole and John Heslin, and he also relegated his native county Laois in the last round of the league. Longford actually finished the league pretty strongly. Offaly ended up playing both of these teams in challenge games over the last few weeks. Offaly put 5 goals past Westmeath and then went and could only score 112 against Wexford. But the reason that they probably couldn't score against Wexford last week was because the injuries they picked up against Longford the week before in a challenge game. So I think Westmeath will go back with Ronan Wallace even at full back for this Longford game. They've kind of been trying things out during challenge games since the league, but they played very well in the last game against Antrim. Actually finished the league reasonably okay after that Longford defeat, which took promotion out of their own hands. So I think Westmeath will be better than they were nearly a month ago when they played Longford in the league. But beware of the fact that Longford hammered Laois, and I know Laois conceded a lot against Wicklow last week, but when things were on the line in O'Moore Park against Laois in the last round of the league, Longford came and really delivered to stay up in that last round game. So this is actually quite a tricky one, but I think Westmeath just have enough across their panel.
Can I just say that I would have Westmeath down as one of my favourites for the Talton Cup. I really think that they're the type of county that could produce something in a competition like that. I think that they've been a very good place to do it. I agree with Will, it's going to be close, but I kind of think that Westmeath are going to have enough this weekend. John Heslin didn't perform the last day, and home advantage is massive when it comes to championship. So I'm going with Westmeath.
Yeah, and challenge games, I mean, thanks for the information, Will, and all that, but it's just totally irrelevant on. I wouldn't be worried about changing your pick.
The only way we look foolish is if we all go for the exact same team and that team fails to win. So, no pressure, but our reputation of all 5 of us included here is on the shoulders of the Westmeath football team.
I've said before, and I'll repeat it again, that there is nothing that makes me, literally nothing on this planet that makes me more apprehensive than following Westmeath matches,
Not even global warming,
particularly Will on Midlands 103. I have to say, there's nothing that makes me more apprehensive as to what the hell is actually going to happen.
I'm not sure if that's a positive thing about my presenting or the commentary, or what way you frame it. It's hugely
positive across the board. The apprehensiveness is wound up in the fact that they just have an inability to thump mediocrity like Longford out the gap. So that's all I'm saying. Clare against Limerick.
That's the clip that comes back to bite him, by the way.
Clare against Limerick. Listen, well, again, I have form. Here we go again. It's Clare across the board. Tommy.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this one. I'm going to the game tomorrow evening. Both counties have had injury troubles over the last 2 months, quite a few. Limerick had a very strong Division 3 campaign. They were missing a couple of players in that league final. I really don't think we saw the best of Limerick. And even saying that, they probably still could have beaten Louth and probably should have beaten Louth, and we've given Louth a lot of credit for their Division 3 campaign. Limerick had a couple of goal chances. I think one, Josh Ryan could have been through on goal and he took a point. They were missing Brian Donovan. If Brian Donovan is back this weekend, he is a massive addition to Limerick. Limerick are definitely on the rise. There's really good stuff going on in the background in terms of academy level. They've probably lost a lot of players over the last 7 or 8 years that they could do it right now. There was a Munster Championship game a couple of years ago. Limerick's midfield was Will O'Donoghue and Garrod Hegarty. If they had the two of them this weekend in midfield, I'd be backing them. But I just think Clare have earned the right to be in Division 2 over the last couple of years. They're a very strong side. A couple of injury outs around a couple of key players, but most of their main forwards are back this weekend. And Cusack Park, home advantage, such a big thing in Championship. It sounds like a cliche, but it's not. It's such a big thing. So I'm backing Clare.
Well,
yeah, Clare, a good, solid team. Obviously, Limerick, a bit like I'm sure we'll talk about Louth in a moment, are coming with a huge amount of momentum behind them with the way that they've played in the league so far this year. But I think Clare probably just to step up on the opposition that Limerick have been playing. And yeah, as a result, I think Clare at home take this one against their neighbours.
All right, last one we're coming to is Kildare against Louth, and it's Kildare across the board. And as Tommy said, look, at Louth have been given plenty of credit. They've obviously thumped Carlow at the gap the last couple of weeks, and they are a coming team. But Kildare are also a coming team, but just at a different level on.
I think the forwards that are going to be on show this weekend are going to be absolutely excellent. It's obviously there's been a lot spoken about Sam Mulroy, and then obviously to a lesser extent Grimes and Byrne chipping in with I think goals each last week, wasn't it, in the 5-goal mauling.
Yep.
And then on the other side, that Kildare full forward line is something that I think we probably were excited about even before ball was kicked this year. Like, I mean, took a while to see Dara Kerwin actually get into that team because of injury troubles after that injury for Naas last year, and like obviously the rest of their talent in that full forward line has been spoken about. So like you could expect something chaotic and brilliant attacking wise to happen, just like we saw in the Leinster Football Championship last weekend. But we still have to talk about a team who almost stayed up in Division 1 against a team who are a Division 2 team and maybe would be doing well to establish themselves as a Division 2 team. So much like Clare Limerick, these are teams operating at different planes, but the chance of an upset isn't an outlandish one whatsoever. And I know Ger has been very, very worried all week about this fixture. But if Kildare have really moved into the next phase, then this is a fixture that they should be winning.
I think this could be one that one could be 10 or 12 points, like.
Here we go again.
Here we go. Surely, these are teams like. But we're talking about Kildare.
4-5-10 last week.
Nobody's talking about Kildare winning All Ireland, right? But you are talking about them giving some of those contenders a serious push. Like, Louth deserve all the credit in the world. They thumped Carlow last weekend. That's their form in the Championship. Carlow go on.
I think Louth would much have preferred this game to be in Navan. Laois losing meant that this game went to O'Connor Park and Tullamore. So I think Louth really would have preferred to be in Navan. They scored 5 goals against. I'm kind of agreeing with you. I actually think that
Carlow are bad.
Carlow are desperate, and like Louth, I don't want to be taken away from what Louth have done. Far be it from me to sort of be having a pop at random counties on. But all I'm saying is Kildare, on the face of it, like let's go around the table to wrap this up. What's your score differential here?
I'm very mindful that the last time Kildare went to O'Connor Park in a game around this stage in the Leinster Championship, I think Eoin was covering it for off the ball on the day they lost out to Carlow. I think Kildare probably by 3 or 4 points, but I don't think it's going to be much more than that, genuinely.
Tommy?
Like, Louth are flying.
Louth are flying. Louth have a very good record against Kildare. The last time Louth scored 5 goals in a Championship match, lads, 1957. It was against Kildare, and Louth went on and won the All Ireland that year. So, look, and I'm not one for signs and referencing back to the 50s like some counties like Mayo. But what I would say is that Kildare could possibly, and this is more so a shout out for that team last night, Kildare could possibly start their forward line from the under 20s tomorrow. Some of them. Shane Farrell, number 12 as midfield, was unbelievable. Adam Fanning and Owen Bagnall in the corner. Could probably start them on Sunday and they give probably win it, like.
What are you going for on? Points differential?
6. I'd be more interested in hearing how many goals there will be in this game. And I know that's reading a lot into what happened last week in the Leinster Championship, but I think we're going to go back-to-back weeks in some madness this weekend with the exception of Dublin winning well, I think.
I'm going to go for 8 points between them. I do think that if Bournemouth carry out, that's roughly what should be between them. I think. Actually, I don't know what the betting differences.
Handicap is 5 points. I'm going for 4.
I'll go for 8.
Hold on now. Have you been talked back from 12 points back to 8?
I said 10 or 12. I said 10 or 12. Will. I said 10 or 12. Let's be clear. But I'll bring myself back to 8 just to be.
Louth won 7 games in a row.
I'm conservative, Will. So I'll come back a small bit on that. To clarify as well, what I was saying about Brian Code earlier on is that how long more will he be the manager of Kilkenny? That was the point. I sort of felt that everybody would understand that. It seems like there might have been a bit of confusion there. That's the point I'm making about that. And one comment here before we wrap it up. Sort Your Life Out on YouTube says the Talton Cup is dead on arrival. If the GAA, RTE, Sky can't pony up some cameras for Division 2 level championship matches, they definitely won't give a damn about other teams from lower divisions. And we won't know until we see the evidence of it. Go on, Will. Yeah.
I think there's only 3 games set to be televised as things stand. I don't know if they're going to change that, but you kind of feel like you're in some kind of underground society trying to find out about the Talton Cup, because we don't even know if there's going to be a preliminary round, because we have to wait to see what teams get to provincial finals. It's due to start on the last week of May. I think as things stand, because RTE put out the big wall chart of their fixtures for the year, I think they're showing both semi-finals and the final. I'm not sure if another broadcaster is going to step in to show earlier rounds, but at the moment, given that Sky's picks will be fairly limited at that time and they'll be taking quarters and semis in the All-Ireland Championship, it could just be 3 games and out in the Talton Cup on the TV.
And listening to some of the defeated managers last week as well, the fear is that the best Talton Cup players are going to be on show in the Boston County Championship as opposed to in the Talton Cup.
They do have to wait until their counties are out before they can play in the States.
Oh,
do they?
That comes with the official transfer paperwork and all that. I see. Didn't know that. That was probably a nugget in the football pod that I didn't hear.
No, it wasn't. It was there's a couple of quirks with New York and stuff, but no,
they might just go and enjoy themselves and not play.
Absolutely, they might just get out of there.
Oh,
anyway.
absolutely. And there's going to be a couple in every county that are going to go. But I also think that the counties are going to take it seriously. I do think what Will is saying, another broadcaster has to step in. Like Wicklow Laois last week, unbelievable. Imagine that game was televised, or we even had a YouTube stream. There was a huge buzz around the Kildare under 20s last night because TG Carr had it on a YouTube stream, and there was thousands of people watching it. They got to see a quality level of football between Kildare and Dublin, and those lads are being talked about today. They're in the papers. People are going to remember their performances because they got to see them. Just put the games on.
Yeah, but also the reverse sort of European Super Cup idea. All the counties that are not Kerry and Dublin and Mayo and Donegal and Tyrone, and maybe it's sort of at Galway, it sort of ends there, should bandy together and do something about this. Like the lack of exposure and coverage for the counties that exist beyond that, which is 90% of counties, is awful. It makes you entirely switch off from it, and it's something needs to be done about that.
The only thing is, Adrian, the format to show it is actually there. They could use GAA Go. This weekend, GAA Go is showing Cork against Clare because it clashes with Kilkenny and Galway is on at the same time. That's on TV and RT, and GAA Go are showing the other game for a tenner. Because these games are going to have to be filmed for the Sunday game anyway, I think GAA Go should actually roll out a lot more Talton Cup coverage than maybe they would have planned beforehand.
What are they afraid of? They're afraid that people won't turn up and go to games. People want to go to stuff. Put it on for anyone else that wants to watch it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tommy. Bosang David on YouTube says Carlo are bad, in inverted commas. Owen's comment from a bit earlier on just made me laugh out loud in an open plan office. Hope that becomes a clip. There was a lot of stuff going on there for a clip.
You're going to laugh at this. Carlo made it tricky last week for Louth. 5-10 to 10 sounds like the smashing, but Louth weren't flying last week. Now, I don't think a Mickey Hartside is getting beaten by 12 points, Adrian. I'm surprised you said that.
Well, I actually, if you rewind the tape there, Bill,
he said 6.
I went for 8.
It'll be 4 in 15 minutes.
I went for 8. Yeah.
Louth will be winning by Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. Fair play. Good luck.
Cheers.
Take
That's
it easy.
the Quick Picks.
I absolutely adore them lads. I have unbelievable time for them, but they're a great bunch, but it's not acceptable.
It is 10 to 9, or coming up on 10 to 9. Where did you say you're off to this weekend? The Kildare match.
Off to this weekend. I'm not going to. What do I have planned? No, I don't. I'm not going to a game this weekend.
What's now? The obvious follow-up question. What are you doing?
I'm not working at it. What?
No, I'm not asking. What's your general?
I'm going to Punchestown today, but I definitely have something for Saturday and Sunday as well. But I can't remember what.
Are you doing it's reserved enclosure, sort of glasses of champers and the full?
Don't think so. No. No, I don't think so.
We both know that's not true.
Is that? I do.
Yeah,
I do. Oh, brilliant!
Don't you?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, you do.
Ah, fantastic.
10 to 9. Up next, we're going to have an OTB AM debut for the former England international Matt Jarvis. First, Anthony Moyles joined Conleth Gilligan with Nathan last night. They spoke about how Derry, they were predicting how Derry could beat Tyrone this weekend.
Pretty, wouldn't be at all surprised at the end of this. There's a lot of criticism coming in for Ulster football and the style of play, but that's probably exactly what Derry need from this game.
Yeah, I would have probably agreed with you wholeheartedly, Nathan, a number of years ago, because, I think Derry were in a position whereby they would have had to do that absolutely as, if you're a management team, you'd say, listen, this is where we're going with this first and foremost, and that's just it. And if it doesn't work, we're going to jump down and we're going to do it again and again. But Derry are a different animal these days. Derry have got firepower. And Connacht isn't going to big them up because he can't, so I can. And they have the ability to score and they have the ability to get at you. So I completely agree that it would be foolhardy of Gallagher to say, well, listen, we're just going to go at it here and we're going to see how we get on. He has to have a plan. The plan will be to take out certain players of that Tyrone team who are, their main focus and their ability to kick balls over the bar and to get scores is prevalent with them. Tyrone, they do have a spread of scores, but certainly, as you can see throughout the league, as the form started to turn for them, there was 1 or 2 or 3 players, including Myler, who we just spoken about, Hart especially, when he started to drift up to that centre forward position. If you remember against, I think it was Kerry and even Dublin, his ability to break lines, his ability to get on the end of things, his ability to set scores up. McShane hasn't been shooting the lights out. I think he's probably had a bit of a frustrating campaign for him himself. And, they've had to rely on the likes of Donnelly coming in to try to change things, Richie, that is, and even Matty to a certain degree. But I'd say Tyrone are scratching their head. I think they would absolutely be happy with how the league finished. But there was a spell during that league where you were kind of saying, geez, they're a little bit rudderless here, and they were also doing things at the back, which I haven't seen them do in a long time, which is allowing that central column to be open. And they're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul a little bit with Hart moving out of certain areas. But it's Derry, I think, have the ability, Nathan, to kick scores, and I think they massively have the ability to counter-attack. They've great pace coming, they've powerful midfield, they've got class up front that can kick scores, find goals. So I think they will frustrate. I think they'll keep it tight. I think they will go man on certain players. But I think they will look to counter-attack and then kind of reset and go again.
You can check out that full conversation, Anthony Moyles and Conleth Gilligan, with Nathan last night. It is 8 minutes to 9 on this Friday morning. A very good morning to you, wherever it is you're at. Keep the comments coming in. They're flooding in this morning about all the various topics that we've been on. And stay tuned as well, because coming your way between now and 10 o'clock, we're going to have a live crappy quiz where myself and Mick and Nathan go head to head. And we shall see how all that pans out. But right now, delighted to say we're joined on the line by former Premier League player with Wolves, Norwich and West Ham, and England international Matt Jarvis. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks a million for taking the call. Great to have you on. A debut.
It certainly is, yeah. Thank you for having me on.
You retired about a year, is that right? What have you been up to?
That's right, yeah. Retired actually on my birthday, so not long. But yeah, been enjoying doing the other side of it, really. Staying in football, doing the punditry, the media side of things, which I really enjoy. If I can't play, there's nothing better than talking about football. Or coaching it. Have you any interest in that area, or...? I've got badges, but at the moment I really enjoy doing this side of things rather than being on the pitch. I think it might just be a bit too fresh. I'll be thinking, I should have just carried on and played. But I'm really enjoying this side. Hard for a Manchester United fan at the minute. Yeah, well, obviously growing up in Surrey, down south in England, being a Man United fan growing up was always good fun. But at the minute, wow, it's just... It's really difficult. I think Roy Keane sort of said it. It's not. He's not angry anymore. He's just sad because of the way that the club's changed, the philosophy, the mentality, everything about it. You go and watch them, and it's just nothing like the same of what it was before. The excitement, everything that surrounds it, it's not there anymore. So really difficult period. I think this summer is going to be incredible for the way that they're going to have to get rid of players, bring in players, and the type of players that they're going to have to bring in. It's going to be very interesting to watch.
Matt, could I ask from your own experience, was there a different mood to going to Old Trafford when you went there with Wolves, when Alex Ferguson was managing them, to say the Moyes era when you were playing for West Ham United? Did you feel that it was an easier place to go almost immediately after Ferguson stepped away?
That's such a difficult one. I think, at the same time, I think because of the results when, Moyes was in charge, they weren't quite there. You sort of, that fortress of Old Trafford, it wasn't quite the same. You're still going to an incredible stadium, and you can feel the atmosphere, but I think you're probably right in saying that it just doesn't feel like, you always felt like, even if you were drawing in the 89th minute, you always felt like they were going to have a chance, with Fergie time. But at the minute, it's just not the same place. And I think it's the belief of the players as well as the fans and the coaching staff. I think that whole side of things has got to have a mental change.
Because that's probably something that we don't fully understand, but it does seem that's a real psychological thing. The reputation of a team, the idea that this team has a reputation of winning games late on, and the more this decade has gone by where Manchester United simply haven't been able to get those results, the easier it is, I suspect, for teams to go there and hang on to results.
Yeah, I think definitely you used to go there thinking we'd be absolutely delighted if we came away with a draw, but now teams are going there thinking we can get 3 points here, and you it's hard to imagine, really. But as you said, mentally, you're focused on going to Old Trafford thinking we can get a result here. These are not the same. You can use that. Even if they were 1-0 up, you feel like you can get back in the game. Whereas before, you went 1-0 down at Old Trafford, you're thinking that's it. This could be 2, 3, 4. But at the moment, you're thinking, right, if we get ourselves in front, we could actually go and win this game quite comfortably. That's the difference. That's the mentality of the teams going there, but also the mentality of the home players.
It's also been like there's been so many false dawns, Matt, over the last while, and even somewhat recently, like the Solskjaer departure, and then Carrick comes in, and obviously the appointment of Rangnick, and even on the players front with like Sancho coming in, Van de Beek coming in, there was huge excitement about it. Like a lot of stuff, Ronaldo obviously coming in, that has like a lot of stuff that's kind of fallen flat in a way that I think fans expected to be the key that unlocked this entire thing. That's the mindset now, isn't it, about Ten Hag, that this is the key now? Do you feel as if this is like the latest false dawn, or is this now the opportunity to fix the club?
This has to be the opportunity to fix the club. I think there's no doubt about it. This season's been a nightmare. It really has. With everything that's gone on, you're looking at the Rangnick coming in. That was supposed to be stabilise and improve. It's been the complete opposite. And I think, having now a first team manager who's going to be involved, he's not just the coach, he's the manager. I think that is a big part of the rebuild, because there's so much that needs to go on. You've got to start in the back room, you've got to start with recruitment, the coaching, that side of things. It's all got to be a big shake up. And, it's, as I said before, just disappointing to see how far it's fallen. But that needs to come from the manager, that needs to come from the board, and that needs to come from the owners. And they're going to have a real interesting summer where they're thinking, right, these are the players that the manager wants, because he wants to have control of that, which is a huge plus for me. Because I feel like with the manager, if you're going in there and you've got such a job to do, if you're getting told what players you're getting and you don't have an impact in who they are, I think that's going to be a massive, massive disappointment. So for the new manager coming in, this is a real opportunity for him to stamp his authority. And like you said, the recruitment, you've got Sancho, you've got Varane, and you've got Van de Beek. He's got another opportunity to come in and play and get that exciting football. And it's not going to be straight away. It's going to take time. But you look and you hope that you think, right, the rebuild's going to start. And that's the first thing that he's going to come into. As soon as he takes over that club, he needs to come in and start right from the top, and that's recruitment, it's staff, and it's the board.
And just on the playing side, it's a very simplistic thought, but in terms of what they might be able to add in, bringing in a world-class centre half, centre midfielder, forward player, is something like that makes them almost pretty quickly close to guaranteed Champions League football and a huge step forward. Is that stick and plaster stuff, Matt, in your opinion, or is that kind of fundamental to what's going on there?
Yeah, I think it's not going to be as simple as just buying 3 players and away you go. I think it's the mentality, it's the culture of the club. I think, full-backs, centre-half, centre-mid, centre-forward, you've got to go through the team, and that's not going to come cheap. So you've got to pick the right characters, and this is what I talk about with recruitment. You've got to be picking the right players. You look at other clubs like Liverpool and Man City, these players that they sign there, and they're straight into the, they're in the team, they make the team better. And it looks like, Diaz, who's gone to Liverpool, and Jota, these players have gone there and they've just hit the ground running. It's not like you have a time where you have to have 6 months, a year to bed in. They go in straight into the team, and they look like they've been there for 2 years. That's what the recruitment that Man United need in this summer.
Yeah, and Declan Rice is obviously one of those players that gets mentioned all the time in relation to Manchester United, and he, on the face of it, does look like a perfectly natural fit. Your times at West Ham would have overlapped, although maybe not in the senior side.
No, but Declan Rice, I mean, everyone talks about what a wonderful player he is. What a great guy. He comes across as a real mature man, and his performances this year have been absolutely outstanding. Even in the Europa League game last night, they go behind after 50 seconds and he's demanding the ball, he's in control, he's starting everything off, he's making last-ditch challenges, he's breaking play up, he's doing everything that a captain, a leader should do. And for me, for West Ham, they have to find a way of keeping hold of him. I know that's going to be difficult, but if they can't, then he's going to be going right to the top for very sure.
Was there chat about him amongst the senior squad at that point, Matt, or was he, because he really has burst onto the scene in a big way, hasn't he, over the last couple of years? But were you chatting about him in a way that this kid is unbelievable or not?
Not just then, no. He was a lot younger then, and I listened to Mark Noble talk about him as well. He said he didn't think he will be as good as he is now. And that's just, that's your plaudits for Declan Rice and his attitude and his commitment, because he's a good player, but now he's an excellent player, and that's down to the player, obviously the manager and your teammates, but it's down to the player to put in the work, and his improvement's been outstanding.
Maybe Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane didn't realise he was going to be as good as he was going to be as well. I don't know, potentially. On the point that you made about some of the recruitment for Liverpool, like you talk about Jota and Diaz, and you mentioned Jadon Sancho then on the Manchester United side of things as well. I'm just really keen to get your perspective as a former winger on this. So you've got 3 players here. So if you go back a couple of years and if you went through maybe their FIFA stats or where they were thought of, they'd be very close together, if not Sancho being better than the 2 of them. It's hard to make a case though at the moment that he's been anywhere close to them form wise. So can you explain to us why there is that, not underperformance, but that incapability almost to reach your accepted level, or the level you can get to as a winger in these games, and why being at Manchester United is holding Sancho back?
Yeah, well, I think obviously you look at his performances last year, and that's the reason why Man United went out and bought him, because he was exceptional. His goals, his assists, his whole round play was perfect. So you look at this year, obviously it doesn't help when the team's not performing well. As a wide player, it's all about receiving the ball, and if you don't get given the ball, then you're not in the game. At the same time, for him, his confidence was so low. I think you can see that, and when you're in that position as a wide player, you need to be receiving the ball. You need to be confident. You need to go and take players on. That's your whole role in the team. When it's going tough, you need to be receiving the ball. You need to get turned. You need to take players off. You need to get the crowd off their seat. And I think he struggled with that. Maybe it was the price tag. Maybe it was just the system that the Man U were playing. Maybe it was just because of the way that Man United were playing. They weren't playing very well. Confidence is low. This is a huge thing with footballers, especially in the wide areas. But you can see there's moments where he's starting to get his feet under the ground. He's really starting to get back to what we know. It's not on a regular basis. He needs to be more consistent. But that comes with the rest of the team as well. I think, Ronaldo's the obvious one where it's just, he's scoring all the goals, but he's got confidence in himself, regardless. Other players need to get that in themselves. And Diaz, I suppose it's a lot easier to go into a team that's flying because everyone else around you is so confident. They know what's going to happen, and you can just fit in, and you can ride that wave of confidence with everyone else. But whereas Sancho's gone in, and everyone's expecting this big shift of where they were last year to now competing for Champions League and the Premier League, and it's just not happened.
Like, are Manchester United just not giving him the ball enough? Like, you talk about that confidence piece, and if you pick another person who's really low on confidence, it's Marcus Rashford, who of course was playing on the wing last night and has done pretty much all season, and he has played for Manchester United. So is there a common theme there with wide players not being part of the system enough under Rangnick and previously under Solskjaer?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to turn around and say that, it's the system why they're not playing well. They haven't played well, and that's down to many factors. It's down to confidence. It's down to quality. They haven't been doing the right things at the right time. But if the team is playing in a better way, you're then receiving the ball higher up the pitch. You're then receiving the ball in your normal positions. At the minute, the game's so stretched for United that they're having to... they're not maybe working hard enough to get back into shape to receive the ball. They're then, expected to take 3 players on and get a shot off. Whereas, maybe last year there was 3 runners. Someone was running in behind, it created space. Someone was making another run. At the minute, there's just no one doing that. There's only Ronaldo in the box. So when Sancho or Rashford get the ball, they're expected to take players on and score. These are things that, when, for instance, I keep going back to Liverpool, but you look at if Diaz gets the ball, Salah's making a run, Jota's making a run, or if Mane's on, he's making a run, you've got people from midfield getting into the box. There's opportunities and other options for these players to help them either create space for themselves or to lay it on a plate for someone else. So that's just not happening at Man United at the moment.
I want to ask you a bit about West Ham, and I'll do that in a second. But before that, just you mentioned Roy Keane earlier on in some of his comments last night, and he was talking about players not wanting to run for the manager. You've touched on it there yourself. He was particularly, I think, talking about the end of the Solskjaer days. In fairness to him, also scathing of the entire situation. It wasn't just obviously about that. You must have been in dressing rooms at times, or were you in dressing rooms at times where players had checked out of playing for a manager?
I think I've been in teams where it's not going well, and then the manager has lost his job. But I wouldn't say I've been in teams that the amount of players that have checked out is incredible. And like Roy Keane made a point about why are they putting Juan Mata on, when they could have put a young player on to show. And to a degree, I actually agree with him, because this is the perfect opportunity to show what you can do as a young player when you get this opportunity, because their seasons, it's going the road to nowhere at the moment, and this is a great opportunity for these young players to come in and play. And the amount of players that have got their contracts are out and they're still playing, and you just think, well, there's that opportunity needs to be taken. When you're a young player, you need that opportunity to show what you can do. And when players are checking out, as you mentioned, that it doesn't look great on everyone. And I have been in change rooms where some players are out of form, but not necessarily as checked out as much as these Man United players have.
Yeah, it does look that way, all right. West Ham obviously beaten 2-1 at home to Eintracht, first leg of the Europa League semi-final last night. Plenty of pundits over the last couple of weeks have been talking about, like, West Ham's name is on the trophy this year, and that it's there for the taking. A bad start last night and a bad result, and a tough job now in Germany next week.
Definitely, and I think this is the first time that they've sort of been favourites in a tie. And I think David Moyes, after the game, his comments were, we sometimes don't have the right quality for this type of competition. And you think I think he's just trying his best to sort of, take the pressure off his players and sort of turn the tie into being that underdog again. And, the amount of build-up and excitement from the fans and the players. I spoke to a couple of players after the Chelsea game, and they were so excited about this game. And after 50 seconds going behind, they haven't even been able to get into the game and enjoy it. And the same with the fans. But the reaction that they had was great. I mean, they've done that all season. Declan Rice, as I mentioned, was demanding the ball and getting the players going again. And, Bowen had a great opportunity to score, and it just hit the post. And then they get that goal from a set piece, which is that's West Ham all season. They're so strong, but the delivery of the set pieces last night wasn't quite up to their standards, but they still got their goal, and you thought, okay, here we go. This is West Ham. They really were pressing, but Frankfurt showed their quality. Every time they looked to break, they really were threatening, and obviously the second goal was a great bit of play, little 1-2s and goes, and West Ham found it really difficult to break them down. But apart from a Jared Bowen unbelievable bicycle kick that nearly went over the line, for me, Ben Rama, he was the spark that West Ham needed, and they just didn't quite give him the ball as much as they could. But he was exciting when he come on, and you're hoping that from a West Ham point of view that he's going to start, and Bowen and Antonio they're the three men that you hope that are going to be able to turn this around.
We'll have you on again, Matt, at some point on the track, hopefully, to do a bit of a career retrospective and luxuriate in that for a little bit. But one, before we leave you here, a text in from Bill wondering about the best and worst players that you played against during your career.
Best players, that's go easy. I mean, you look at any fullback that I've played against, they're all international players. But the one that I would say he's probably the best fullback that's ever played in the Premier League, and that's Ashley Cole. I don't think anyone could argue with that. His defensive ability and his attacking was incredible, and obviously it helps when you're in a great team. But he's probably up there with the hardest. Easiest, I mean, that's a bit of a more difficult.
Worst to be specific.
Worst. Oh, I don't know. I think it's been made. I think Jonathan Woodgate played against me as a right back, and he came off after about 20 minutes, and he speaks about it saying it's the best decision that Tony Pulis ever made, because he got booked after about 5 minutes, then gave a penalty away against me, and then should have been sent off, and then after 20 minutes had to get replaced. So I'll go with that one.
More than 20 minutes.
He's not a right back. He's an outstanding centre half.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, look, we'll allow you that one. Listen, Matt, thanks really for jumping on. We'll catch up with you again down the track.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Matt Jarvis there, former Premier League player and England international as well, and we'll definitely be catching up with him again down the track. By the way, you are watching OTB AM. We're brought to you live each morning by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. It's 11 minutes past 9. We have a live crappy quiz on the way, and here's what's happening on OTB Sports Radio over the course of the day. 10:30 this morning, the football kickoff. Johnny Ward, Phil Egan and David Myler are going to be marking your card for the weekend ahead. So that is coming up in just over an hour's time. 1 o'clock, Catherine Switzer for OTB Gold. Friday night racing, live in your ears at 3 o'clock today, and Team 33 League of Ireland legend Shelbourne's own Heary from 4 and Ronnie Delaney on OTB Gold at 6, and then obviously Off the Ball live in your radio at 7 this evening. By the way, you can just ask your smart speaker to play OTB Sports Radio. You can of course listen to OTB AM as a radio show if you so wish, if you're on your commute, live every single morning at the OTB Sports Radio stream, or indeed on the OTB Sports app. After the break, we're going to have a very special live crappy quiz coming your way. We're going to see the Titanic triple threat tussle.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
The greatest league in the world is back.
Every Friday night after the League of Ireland games, a place for you to come to give your opinion to Vane. There's a little button down in the left-hand corner where you can say that you want to talk. And Johnny, you're just going to have to mute yourself because you're ruining it for everybody.
I can't. I'm still ruining it, am I?
You are, yes.
We're going to talk about Waterford FC now. Let's change to the real first division now.
For immediate reaction from around the grounds, catch League of Ireland late night, Friday nights at 10 on Twitter Spaces. Follow at Off the Ball.
I was at uni, first year in university, and I wasn't playing any other sport at the time, and one of my flatmates said, let's go and give women's rugby a go, and we did, and I never looked back.
I was in a pub and I got up to go to the toilet, and then I was suddenly surrounded by people going, do you want to play women's rugby? I'd never played before, but I just thought they looked like a good bunch of sociable people, so I just joined from there.
I was out in the college bar one night, and I heard there was a women's rugby team coming from Warwick to play us the next morning, but we didn't have a team, so I was asked would I play the match the next morning.
I think it was back in '92, was it, that we first met? I don't know if you were at the tournament.
we organised a tournament in University of Ulster called Rain, and so Blackrock and Cook Rugby Club came along to it, and I know we were discussing then about trying to, get some sort of a formal arrangement with to get more rugby teams on board so we could have a league and that. But the Irish team, I know that was driven by the exiles, wasn't it, Joe?
There was a momentum really that we should have an Irish side. England, Wales and Scotland had already an established side, and then having talked to the girls in Blackrock and yourself and a number of others, there was a real momentum and enthusiasm for getting it started. So we got together and organised the committee and formed the union and then the league so that we could have that first game in '93, which meant then we could play in the World Cup in the following year.
FBD Insurance knows this sound spells trouble for van drivers. But if you're an existing FBD customer, you'll get 15% off a new van insurance policy. It's how we're keeping you and your van on the road. Visit fbd.ie or contact your local branch. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Terms and conditions apply. 15% discount available on new commercial motor policies only when an existing FBD farm, business, car or home policy is in place. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Commercial motor insurance is underwritten by FBD Insurance plc.
OTB AM.
With Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
9:15, you're watching OTB AM, brought to you live each morning by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. And by the way, live crappy quiz on the way, but you would have seen there in the ad break something a little special, a highlight from one of our new short films where you're going to see 3 Irish rugby players, Jill Henderson, Therese Kennedy and Tanya Waters, talking about their experience with the women's rugby, Ireland women's rugby in here back in the 1990s. So you saw a little bit of a flavour of it there. The full thing coming your way very shortly, and it's all brought to you with thanks to Vodafone, who are proudly supporting the Irish women's rugby team. We all belong to the team of us, and as I said, you can check out that full thing very shortly, coming to an OTB stream near you. Right, I did mention this a little bit earlier on. It's a live crappy quiz. It's a Titanic triple threat tussle. Nathan versus Mick versus myself. Crappy quiz. Chris Waddle.
Oh, you're kidding me. September. Kyle Lafferty.
Are you joking me?
Is that right? I know it's not right. Anybody else? Leash, was it?
Like, that is one of the most stupid questions.
Darius Vassell? Seriously, you all need to just stay quiet. This is getting really annoying doing this quiz. What is going on here?
Welcome along to the shoutiest segment on Irish radio. It's the scintillating, it's the stupefying, it's the splendido crappy quiz. Every Friday we pit 3 of team off the ball up against each other in our no-holds-barred quiz of sporting factoids at the end of the week. Allow me to welcome today's contestants. Our first contestant is a stalwart of the crappy quiz, and if you don't know that, then you'll need to brush up on your crappy quiz history. Thankfully, in the YouTube comments last week, Tull Celtic and Chrisser555 went through his backstory. Have a look.
Tull Celtic. I think that's the first Gilroy win I've seen. Chrisser555. He won a few weeks ago too. Unreal like. Maybe he's finally coming into a bit of form. Celtic. Haha, yeah, true. Maybe it'll be Adrian's day soon. Chrisser. Jesus, calm down, lad. Celtic. Apparently he was unreal at it years ago. Went on mad win runs. They must have been before they went on YouTube. Chrisser. Really? That was before my time anyway. Some of his answers are mind-boggling. Of all the United players to pick that scored a goal, he goes for Shaw, with Bruno still in play like. And at the end saying Antonio plays for Uruguay? Woeful. I think he just panics. Can't play under the bright lights. There's potential there, but he needs to sort his head out. Celtic. Yeah, for someone who works on a sports programme, he really needs to know more about sport. Too much wine and cheese. Remember, last week in the rapid fire, what nationality is Alanga? English. Chrisser. I'd love to see him win one some week though. It would mean a lot to him, I'd say. You could tell the confidence is shattered. Celtic. Yeah, definitely. I do like him. He's actually very funny. The quiz definitely needs him. Chrisser. Yeah, he grows on you after a while, all right?
Jesus Christ.
Adrian, who's your daddy Barry?
Oh my God, what was that? Was that a compliment there at the end? I'm not sure. And like, look, it's all absolutely right. My confidence is on the floor. It's been on the floor for about 3 years now.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
One day, well, no, I'm kind of like heartbreaking, to be honest. But we'll pick you back up. We'll bring you along. Wow. Today is a new day.
Nathan is saying something, and I'm saying it's amazing.
They've muted me.
but
they've muted me. I can't believe an opportunity has come for me to just roll out some abuse at Adrian Barry, and they wouldn't even put up my mic. I was saying you're sort of the Manchester United of the crappy quiz. You have all the resources available to you, but
like his laptop.
Well, exactly.
But like the only thing you're omitting there is the fact that United had a lot of success. These lads seem to think that I won some of these at some point.
I think they were talking about Gilroy. That Gilroy had a winning run.
No, it's often referenced there was like a 7 in a row there at one point.
It never happened.
I might have been on my own.
The resources point in the laptop is an interesting one. I'm not sure you guys are all probably too old to have watched Quiz Zone in its pomp in like 2005, 2006, and it was basically where kids had to get an answer to a question correct and then run through like a soft play area. They had like encyclopedias behind them and they had a computer in front of them, and they'd be like, what is the capital of Ecuador? And they would go to the encyclopedias rather than Googling what is the capital of Ecuador. And I kind of feel sometimes that that's what's going on here with this laptop here.
That was a great anecdote.
Wow.
I did enjoy then the comments that they mentioned that Adrian thought that Miguel Antonio was from Uruguay last week, which I have to say was probably one of my favourite answers in Crappy Quiz history.
I still can't remember where he was actually from.
Jamaica.
Our next contestant has written an angry worded email to the Mayo County Board, castigating them for deciding to put a new playing surface on McHale Park and forgetting to update the premium seating areas of the stadium. That's right, the GAA. That's one less person you can count on to eat your stupid cocktail sausages at halftime in the future. It's the beast of Ballyhaunis, Nathan Nate Doug Murphy.
If you can't get a glass of red at halftime, really, what's the point?
It's true. It's true for all sports fans. And our final contestant has clearly been sent from outside to sabotage the future of the crappy quiz. Not even a wet week into his return as OTB PM producer, Thursday nights all of a sudden have a new quiz show. In order to appease this imperialistic megalomaniac, we have invited him into the tent this morning. Give it up for APM angry producer Mick.
Hi, Eoin. There's no quiz last night, and there was no quiz last Thursday, the previous Thursday either. So I think it's been met with too much enthusiasm actually for a OTB quiz, so we had to cut it. We have to keep the levels crappy around here.
Thank you very much.
When are we officially changing it to middle-aged, mild-mannered Mick?
Well, actually, do you know what? I was criticised for being too low energy on my return to the quiz a couple of weeks ago, and I have to say,
by who?
It doesn't matter who.
That's the question we all want answered.
It doesn't matter, but I was like, I'm not a puppet here to dance on a string and entertain you plebs. I'm here to win quizzes, and that's exactly what I did on my return.
Yeah, he's just counting medals and showing off his rings at the end of the week. At the end of the, I don't know when. But did you win last time?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 1 out of 1 since my return.
Good to have you back. As ever, the format is a classic crappy quiz with a series of questions and a range of themes, and it's onto the slip and slide of trivia, which is the rapid fire round. You can podcast the crappy quiz on otbsports.com or on the OTB Sports app. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click the thumbs up, even if we contribute nothing but misery to your day. And you can send questions via postcard to Crappy Quiz Quizmaster, Off the Ball Towers, Marconi House, Diggs Lane, Tub, Dublin 2. And apparently we also accept Twitter DMs for crappy quiz questions, because a big shout out to Kieran Burke, who got in touch via our DMs this week with a heap of questions, including...
I'm with Nathan here. This does not strike me as a smart way to enter questions.
No! Adrian Barry has been on them DMs.
Who is not on the DMs? Sliding into our own DMs.
Is it the crappy quiz account or the off the ball account?
I think it might actually be the off the ball account.
Oh, this is dodgy.
Yeah, dodgy.
Especially as I didn't see it. If I
have not seen it, Mick, either. I won't lie to you.
I have not seen it either.
Yeah, I'll say that now.
But Adrian's opening it up on the laptop as we speak.
He sent in the boring questions round, which of course is round 1, and it's never multiple choice. Adrian, question 1: what is the largest GAA ground in Leinster not called Croke Park?
Oh, it'd be between 2, I'd say.
It's between about 11.
Well, in reality, it's either going to be O'Connor Park or O'Moore Park, I'd say. Let me just tease this one out.
Go on, tease
it. It's not
going
to be Navan. It's
Midland Stadium trivia doesn't get much more exciting.
We'll rule out Drogheda for you as well there, just to help you.
Wexford Park. No, I think it's between the two of them.
You're going to go for?
It's revamped and it must be at a big capacity. I'm going to go with O'Connor Park.
It's neither of those grounds. It is Nolan Park.
Nolan Park.
Yeah.
Nathan, after Sean Dyche was sacked, Jurgen Klopp became the longest serving manager at a current Premier League club, followed by Pep Guardiola, who is the third longest serving manager at the club. Good question.
That's Nathan's way of saying, no, I knew that, but I don't know this.
Question.
Which is just another version of spooling through the answers.
It's a tough question. Just trying to go through the old Premier League table there to see who is where.
In your head or on a screen in front of you?
Like, that's right, yeah, that's right. When you're cheating, you're not supposed to tell us about it.
All right, God, so...
That's it.
You can't have too long here because he's just counting teams.
Okay, come on, Nathan. No. I'm allowed to go through the various different managers. Surely. Why wouldn't I be?
Come on.
Surely I am.
Delaying.
No, you got to give me a second to
just keep talking. It'll get confused.
That's right. You can't have a train of thought when somebody's talking.
Ralf Hasenhüttl.
It is not Ralf Hasenhüttl. Anyone?
What was the question?
The answer is Thomas Frank.
Yeah. I was happy it wasn't my question and just never thought about it again.
That's right.
Mick, Ireland famously beat England in 2011 Cricket World Cup. In what country did the match take place?
India.
Correct.
Bangalore.
Come on.
Don't blame me. I didn't write that question.
Well, you got your specialist topic, Nathan. I don't know what you're guffing about.
Round 2 is the Guess the Footballer based in order of the clubs they've played for round. Trialled in the recent Renegade Thursday night quiz, this was written by OTB AM producer Colm Boohig. I need to insist, this round was not written by me. This round was written by Colm Boohig, I want to insist. His description is as follows. Shockingly, nobody from the evening show claimed ownership of this incredibly exciting quiz round, so OTB AM's crappy quiz will happily take it on and retain it based on its success, Colm's opinion, which we will assume will be gigantic when eventually measured. The game is simple. I will list in order from first till last the clubs a footballer has played for, and all you have to do is guess the footballer in question. The first person to do so will win the point. However, there is one major rule. This will not be a question for, Adrian first, then Mick, then Adrian. What you have to do is shout your name out, and whoever shouts your name out first gets to go first. So you must shout your name before answering the question. And of course, I don't mean your name, I mean your crappy quiz name. So we're talking about Nate Dogg, we're talking about APM, and we're talking about...
Who's your daddy?
Exactly. So, failure to do that would eliminate the contestant from that particular round of the quiz. You get one guess per club named. I'm not going to hang about for anybody waiting.
I don't even follow. What the hell is happening here? You're going to start listing clubs, and we have to shout out our name.
I'm basically reading somebody's Wikipedia.
And so, so can we jump in and then re-jump in again after?
After I've named another club, yeah.
So you're going to say Chelsea, and we all get a chance to shout out something.
No, you only get to have one guess per round.
Yeah, per person.
Oh,
yeah.
So if it's Roy Keane and it's Cove Ramblers and nobody guesses, after he moves on to Forest.
You can guess again after I move on to Forest.
And if you guess and you say Gary Charles, you're out. And then it goes to Manchester United, and I'll jump in and say Roy Keane.
So you get one guess at each round. Okay.
I think you'll find that a crappy quiz once you're explaining your winning.
It's a shambles.
Right. Question 2 for whoever shouts their name first. This first player started there.
Sorry. Can I just say before you start? So it'd be madness for us all not to shout out our name after each team is named.
No, you only get one guess.
But it would be madness. Yeah.
You were going to give it a guess every single time.
But you might like it time, because I'm not going to hang about.
Everybody's going to guess.
Okay.
No. Well, are you not out of the round once you guess at all?
No, that was how you did it on Thursday night. But Colm has instructed me to change it.
See,
Colm's been thinking about this quiz for years, and he's just changed it on the fly after one day.
It's so confusing already before it begins.
He has.
I'm glad to bring clarity to proceedings.
A little bit disgraceful, but look, we'll roll with it. Question 2, as I say, for whoever shouts their name first. This first player started their senior professional career with West Ham.
Who's your daddy?
Who?
Mark Noble.
No, he then went on loan to Bournemouth.
Mick, then Jermaine Defoe.
Correct.
APM.
I got it wrong.
Oh no, he's out. Wrong.
No, I corrected myself when you didn't even notice because I'm a sportsman.
He then returned to West Ham.
Which I already said who it was.
Who's your daddy? Jermaine Defoe. What's happening here? He already gave the answer.
Nathan got there first, but he didn't say his.
I know, so
name.
that should be the end of that. That's ridiculous.
No, Nathan then jumped in and picked up the pieces and he got the point.
Oh, you're joking me.
Hold on. Am I really not getting that point?
Question.
I've been roaring and shouting for the last 5 minutes.
Because I couldn't hear you.
Well, we have to kill your mic because you talk such shite.
Question 2 for whoever shouts their name.
Is that a HR?
It'd be the latest in a long line of similar inquiries.
This second player started their senior professional career with Ajax.
Who's your daddy? Dennis Bergkamp.
No. He then moved to AC Milan. He then moved to Juventus.
Who's your daddy?
APM.
No, Adrian got there first.
Patrick Kluivert.
No.
APM. Edgar Davids.
Correct. Very well done. Edgar Davids is correct.
So you're allowed to come in twice.
You can come in as often. We established that at the start. Come in as often as you want.
Club, we can't come in twice.
I know you're a bit slow on the uptake there, but
question 2 for whoever shouts their name first. The third and final player who started their professional career with Metz.
Who's your daddy?
Yeah.
Didier Deschamps.
No.
Nate Dogg.
Yeah.
Olivier Giroud.
No. He then moved on to Marseille.
Who's your daddy?
Yeah.
Didier Drogba.
No. He then
Nate Dogg. Dimitri Payet.
No. He then moved on to Arsenal.
Who's your daddy?
Yeah.
Patrick Vieira.
No. He then moved on to Villarreal.
APM.
Yeah.
Coquelin.
No. He then moved on to Aston Villa.
Oh, APM. Robert Pires.
Correct.
Oh, sure, listen.
APM would have got all three of them.
That round is
let's never speak or do that round ever again.
I'm getting a clap through the window from Colm, which suggests that I've done well.
You know when you watch a movie and you're like, Oscar worthy right there.
You know when you watch a movie and 5 minutes in you're like, I'm going to have to stick with this even though I know it's bad.
Imro. Colm Boohig, again, I really need to be magnanimous here and just give all the credit that deserves to somebody else. So Colm, thank you so much.
The name part was the hardest part of it by a mile.
Yeah, exactly.
The players thing was way easier.
What the hell the rules were.
Keeps you on your toes. Round 3 is another favourite. It's the Pass the Parcel of Doom round. In this round, all you got to do is give me a name that's on a list of names, and I have the Parcel of Doom, which will pass on to the next contestant, who then also has to give me a name. The first person who can't give me a name or gives me a wrong one will be eliminated. The last person standing wins a point. Adrian, we'll start with you. Can you name an opponent that Katie Taylor has faced in her professional career to date?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's 3-1-0 to Mick. Nathan's on 1 point, by the way.
Okay.
Come on.
He's just sacrificing this round.
Are you just like talking to your brain there when you say come on, or yeah?
Exactly, yeah.
Give us an answer, Adrian. If you're struggling first up, you're probably...
Yeah, but I mean, that's not to say that either of these schmucks obviously are going to get anything.
Come on. He never knows anything to do with Katie Taylor. It's embarrassing, humiliating.
That's untrue.
Our greatest sports person.
Oh, Ochigava.
No.
Did she not fight her?
She did in her amateur career, obviously. She won a gold medal against Ochigava.
There was talk of a rematch, I think.
So, Adrian, you're out. Sorry about that. Nathan?
Delphine Pursoon.
Delphine Pursoon is correct.
Google there.
Jonas,
yeah.
I was going to say Jonas.
Serrano.
Yeah.
What? No.
What was her first name? What is her first
name? Absolutely.
Cindy.
Correct. Nick.
Is this going out on Sunday?
No, it's going out
right now. This is really happening.
You should get a point for that.
Oh, I've watched every single one of them, but I don't know any more names. So I'm sorry. Yeah, Nathan won it by getting the third one.
Nathan, you've got another name?
Rose Valente.
Valente, yeah, probably would have accepted that.
That's the only one. After that, it was
Victoria Bustos, Jasmine Clarkson, Kimberly Connor, Monica Gentili, Miriam Gutierrez, Jennifer Hahn, Milena Kaleva, Christina Linardatu, Nina Manke, Jessica McCaskill, Vivian Obanau,
McCaskill.
Anahi Esther Sanchez, Firuza Sharapova, Karina Smadlenberg, Rose Valente, as you say, and Eva Wallstrom were the other fighters. So it is Mick 3, Nathan 2, Adrian 0. Nathan, you can kick us off on this one, and credit once again to our DMs for this question and the next couple of questions. Kieran Burke. Can you name a runner-up in a Champions League final from 1991 onwards?
1993 onwards, surely, no? If it's Champions League. Okay, we'll go with European Cup / Champions League. So yeah.
Liverpool.
Correct. Mick.
Sampdoria.
Correct.
Milan.
Milan is correct.
Manchester United.
Yeah.
Ajax.
Yeah. 96.
Chelsea.
Yeah, 2008 for Chelsea.
Arsenal.
Arsenal's correct.
Leverkusen.
Yes. 2002.
Is it me?
Madrid. It's me.
Yeah, correct.
Colm shouting in her ears here, not understanding the question, which is who lost the finals, not who won them, Colm.
Sorry, Real Madrid is not correct.
I meant Atletico.
No, no, you're out. You're done.
Oh, Christ.
I could go all night here, Nathan.
Yeah, so could I.
Oof.
Well,
big claims, lads.
9:34 a.m.
Wow. Dortmund.
Dortmund is correct. 2013.
Valencia.
Valencia is correct. 2000, 2001.
Atletico Madrid.
Correct. 14 and 16.
Said that earlier.
Bayern Munich.
Bayern Munich is correct. 3 times.
Monaco.
Monaco is correct.
Arsenal.
It's already been said.
Okay, well, that's okay. I listen to this every week, and when something's already been said, you let it go again.
No, you don't.
I listen to this show every single week.
I think that's
already been said. It's not already been said.
I think that's a hard and fast rule.
I think what we'll do here, Nathan, you've got to fulfill.
Who said Arsenal?
You got to fulfill. Nathan
I
did.
did.
Nathan, give me one more, and then you get the point.
Fair enough.
We just got.
Oh, I'm with you, Nathan. I think there should be a hard and fast rule here. It's either a rule or it's not.
Then we're changing the entire rules of the quiz. So
Go on. I'm not fighting.
This is like typical Kerry stuff.
Fine.
Mick has stood down.
Chelsea.
Mick is on the Kerry thing.
Chelsea's been said as well.
The ones you were missing were Barcelona, Juventus, Manchester City, Marseille, PSG.
Juventus, did I not?
I had Tottenham and PSG.
I thought I'd already said Juventus.
I shit you not.
Oh, that's very unfortunate. Mick, question 3 for you. Can you name a runner-up of the European Cup / Champions Cup since its inception?
So does this also include 91 to... Oh, sorry, this is rugby. Sorry, okay, right. Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester is correct. 3 times they've been beaten in the final. Adrian.
Munster.
Munster is correct.
Leinster.
Leinster is correct. Oh, my voice broke.
Northampton.
Correct.
Me?
Yeah.
Ulster.
Ulster is correct.
Racing.
Yeah.
Clermont.
Correct.
La Rochelle.
La Rochelle. God, some pace here, lads, yeah.
Bath.
No, you're out. The ropey man loses. Nick.
Wasps.
No, you're out. Adrian gets the point.
Oh, it's the other way around. Toulouse.
Bum.
I was thinking of...
Who do you got for
no
Adrian?
mistake.
My next guest written down on my list was Wasps.
So the remaining ones were Biarritz, Brive, Cardiff, Colomiers, Perpignan,
Cardiff,
Saracens, Stade Francais, and Toulouse.
Colomiers is a good, interesting pronunciation.
I know,
Getting
yeah.
that one wrong because I
quite quickly.
confused the try that was in my head is a killer. The Rob Howley try.
That's the way they fall.
Adrian, you're still alive. We enter round 4, which is the fun free magic number round. Contestants get 3 points for getting the number exactly right. If no one manages that, the nearest contestant who doesn't go bust gets 2 points. The second closest gets 1 point. I'm going to state that we can only accept the answer that's written on your paper. I'm also going to have to ask for your pens once the music ends. So if you don't mind, give us the following number. Again, Kieran Burke, thank you for these. The number of Six Nations titles Ireland have won, plus the number Nathan Collins wears for Burnley, plus the total number of Irish golfers to ever win a major, plus the position Dublin finished in Division 1 of this year's National Football League. Your 30 seconds expire when Sinatra sings Bright Shiny Beads. So how many Six Nations titles have Ireland won? What number does Nathan Collins wear for Burnley? How many Irish golfers have won a major in golf? And where did Dublin finish in Division 1 in this year's Allianz National Football League? Add them all up, what do you get?
What was the third question on?
The number of Irish golfers to ever win a major.
Yeah.
Bubbles, bangles, bright, shiny.
Pens down. Nathan, you can kick us off.
Sorry, I'm just...
Oh, jeez.
47.
47, Mick.
38.
38.
And just to continue that graph, 27.
Whoa. In fairness, Adrian, you do score something here, but Mick is closest. The answer is 40. Nathan, you went bust. So, Mick, you get
23.
2 points. You go to 5. Adrian, you're up to 2. So, Six Nations titles Ireland have won 4.
Yeah, got that.
Nathan Collinsworth, 22.
Said 21. That was what won it for me, I'd say.
There have been 6 Irish golfers to win a major.
6 got that.
Lowry, McIlroy, Clark, McDowell, Harrington and Fred Daly. Dublin finished 8th in this year's Division 1 National Football League.
I was only 1 off, but my score was 2 off. I must have added them up wrong.
Let me just double check. Yeah, no, I think we're good. I think it is 40. So Mick, you're on 5. Nathan, you're on 3. Adrian, you're on 2.
Nathan embarrassing himself again, of course.
Our winner tonight will be decided in the round that's set.
How did I embarrass myself?
Well, you overshot the runway significantly.
What did you get so wrong there, Nathan? Nathan Collins'
Nathan
number?
Collins' number. I had in my head it was in the 30s for some reason.
Yeah. Football, Premier League commentator, ladies and gents.
It's a bit of a shame. Our winner tonight will be decided in the round that separates the men from the boys, the Gavin Thornburys from the Nigel Thornburys. It's no team in particular, ridiculously easy rapid fire round. So the score you get
Who's
in this
Nigel
round...
Thornbury?
Do a Wikipedia deep dive, educate yourself, mate. The score you get in this round will be added to your score in the previous rounds. There will be 40 seconds for everyone to answer from the same set of questions. We're going to start with the person with the highest number of points, which is Mick, then on to the person in second, which is Nathan, then on to the person who's in third place, which is Adrian. If you get a question correct, I'll ask you another question and keep asking you questions until you get one wrong. Once you get one wrong, we move on and you get deducted a point. So, APM, angry producer Mick McCarthy, are you ready?
I am.
Your 40 seconds starts now. Yan Bing Tao plays what sport?
Come on.
Table tennis.
No, snooker. Who trains the horse Classical Dream, Nathan?
Michael Stout.
No, Willie Mullins. Who won the Europa League final last year, Adrian?
Tottenham.
No, Villarreal. Which of these players has never won an NBA championship? Shaquille O'Neal or Charles Barkley?
Charles Barkley.
Correct. O'Loughlin Gales is a GAA club in what county?
Any.
Correct. Tony Mowbray is currently manager of what club?
Blackburn.
Correct. The only draw on Tyson Fury's record is against who?
Wilder.
Correct. Who is the Dublin football captain this season?
Fenton?
No, James McCarthy. Out of time, but it doesn't matter.
Sorry,
Mick McCarthy wins the quiz.
You
APM
can't
is
have
back.
it either or.
I agree with that, Nathan, wholeheartedly.
Either or.
Nathan,
Which gets
if
you a
you
little
didn't get
bit
a
of
question
momentum.
wrong, it would have been your question.
But doesn't matter. You could have got next. You got a question wrong as well. And then was it Charles Barkley or Shaquille O'Neal? That's not what the rapid fire is. This was a shambles. So firstly, Mick established his lead.
What a prick you are. I'm after winning my second quiz in a row on my return and you haven't stopped bullshitting ever since. This is absolute nonsense.
No.
Celebrate my greatness.
Boohig's nonsensical round that's never coming back. That you didn't want on a Thursday night show. That now you're happy to have it a Friday morning show. That is never coming back. That's how you established your lead. Nobody even understood the
Can we
rules.
cut him off?
I want to apologise.
Jojo, take his mic down.
I'd like to apologise to Nathan for earlier saying that he talked shite because he's bang on there. That's
50-50. You cannot have a 50-50 decision in the rapid fire. Give him a bit of momentum. It's all about momentum. It's all about that one.
Well, what's he supposed to ask? Which of these players has never won an NBA title? And then stop talking.
No, you just never ask which of these players. That's just a stupid question.
I think it's not right to ask questions at this time. I think now it's kind of too soon, isn't it? We just need to be appreciating Mick's greatness. Thank you, and great to have you here with us.
It's not your fault that the quiz was a shambles. Well done.
That is it for OTB AM on this Friday, or we're almost there anyway. OTB AM has been brought to you live every week by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day, and every day of every week. Be sure to follow Off the Ball across all of our social channels and download the OTB Sports app.
And every month of every year.
Next morning.
This is
next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, 7:30.
See you next Tuesday.
Here. See you then. Have a great weekend, Stephen Ward. Now.
This evening. Now, Stephen Ward has had a brilliant career, 20 years as a senior professional footballer, 50 caps for the Republic of Ireland, 170 appearances in the Premier League, scored his first ever Premier League goal at Anfield, and now at 36 he's decided, feet up, money in the bank. Where did it all go wrong, Stephen?
Hey Nathan, how you doing?
How you keeping? Congratulations.
Yeah, not too bad, mate. I don't know if you do congratulate someone when they've hung them up, but yeah, no, it's done now. Listen, happy enough with my decision. The time was right. I'm getting on now, and the body and mind have been telling me for a few weeks it's been time. So
right.
Just felt it felt right. Not much to play for in the last couple of games, and while I'm sort of healthy and fit, I thought it was the right time to walk away.
So talk us through the decision then. You've been playing with Walsall. You're 36 at this stage. So as you say, it's getting to that time, I'm sure, where you're thinking about your future. Was this the first time where you'd sat down and thought about retirement, or was it a year-on-year process over the past couple of seasons?
Yeah, you're probably right. So it was probably a year-on-year thing, and I think last year was a difficult season. Obviously, it was at Ipswich. COVID was very much involved. There was no fans. It was difficult playing in front of empty stadiums. So I always had that desire to play one more year at least. So when obviously Matt Taylor called me, who I'd played with at Walsall, it was a no-brainer really. I was excited to go down. It's 15 minutes from my house. Good club, good infrastructure. Met the manager, was really happy with his ambition for the season, and it ticked every box. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I think more so as the season went on and getting after Christmas, I picked up a couple of niggling injuries and found it a bit more difficult to come back from them, and that's when you sort of know. And I think I'm 37 in August, and I just felt the time was right.
You've experienced such unbelievable highs during your career, from, as I said, scoring your first ever Premier League goal for Wolves against Liverpool, to representing Ireland at 2 European Championships. When you're coming to the latter stages of your career and you're playing in League Two, what's that experience like? What's that enjoyment level like? Is it a very different thing from a decade ago as to how you're going into training, how you're appreciating things?
Not really. I think you appreciate it a little bit more, to be honest. Although you're not at the level that you may have been in previous years, you do know you're coming to the end, and I think I took on a little bit more of a different role this year. Obviously, I was playing in the team, for most of the season until I sort of picked up a couple of injuries. But I felt I was a bit more of that experienced professional in the dressing room. I felt like the players, looked up to you, they listened to you, they respected what you've done in your career, and I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed giving a little bit back to them in terms of what I knew and what I'd learned over the few years. And obviously the manager I knew, I'd played with for a year at Burnley, so knew him very well. He was great with me, and I did really enjoy it. I've really enjoyed the year, albeit we haven't had the success that we would have wanted on the pitch as a squad. When you are coming to the end, you still go in every day enjoying it, knowing that you are getting close to the end. So yeah, listen, the level obviously is different, but in your own heart and your own body that you don't have too many days left out on the training pitch, and you want to enjoy them. You want to go out, you want to enjoy every game, because you know it could be your last.
That not knowing your own body and how long it's going to last at 36 compared to say 26, it's probably a slightly different process after a game in trying to recover from a match, and even during a game maybe not having the ability to do what you were once able to do. What's that like?
It's difficult. It's difficult to come to terms with. Yeah. Listen, I felt I coped really well at that level. Especially experience-wise. You can't put a price on experience and what you know in terms of the game. So positionally, yeah.
You're not pushing fine right up into the opposition half too much.
No, I'm probably not doing as many overlaps as I would have, because it's probably took me a little bit longer to get back down the other end of the pitch. But no, in saying that, listen, it was great. I enjoyed, playing a different side of the game. Yeah, maybe I wasn't as up and down as I used to be. And it does get difficult because your head is still in a place where, you see the game differently, but your body just can't do what it used to do. And I think sort of when that's starting to happen, and like I said, I think the thing for me was I was picking up, especially after Christmas, we had a bit of a break over Christmas. I was playing consistently up to the middle of December. We were playing well as a team, and then when there was a bit of a COVID outbreak over here, we didn't play for a month. And I think coming back after that, it just didn't suit my body too well, and ended up picking up a couple of not serious injuries, but ones that, probably took me a little bit longer than I would have wanted to get back from. And that probably just sort of was a writing on the wall for me.
When did you play your best football?
I would say couple of periods. I had a really good period at Wolves when I probably first broke into the international team before we eventually got relegated. But I'd say the best period was probably my 3 or 4 year stint at Burnley when we first got promoted. I think I felt, when we first got promoted at Wolves into the Premier League, not that I wasn't ready, but you know, it's so early in your career, you maybe don't feel like you belong or that you are at that level. And I think the more you progress, the more experience you get. I think the second time I got up at Burnley, I felt like I belonged. I felt more at home in the Premier League. And listen, that comes with age, with experience. And but definitely, yeah, those probably 4 or 5 years at Burnley were probably the best part of my career in terms of where I was at mentally, physically, and was probably able to deal with the rigors of the Premiership a lot more than I was maybe when I first got promoted at Wolves.
That second time you went up with Burnley, there must have been a time where you wondered whether that was happening, because I mentioned earlier on the show we were doing a commentary together at Anfield. I think it was very early in Jurgen Klopp's reign, and it was around December 2015, and you were out at the Burnley side at that time. And I remember talking to you, and you were sort of unsure because we were 6 months away from the European Championship finals. And with Sean Dyche, when you were out, you were out, and when you were in, you were in. And it wasn't really a case of doing well at training, that if the left back was playing well, you just weren't going to get in, and you were sort of thinking about, do I need to go on loan, or, you know, have that chat with the manager. And I think it was a week later, there was an injury, and you come in and you play something like 80 games in a row. That I don't want to say a stroke of luck, but one injury at the right time gives you this brilliant flourish to your career around 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think I'd finished the previous season with a broken leg, and I only come back, I think, for the last 5 or 6 games. So I hadn't played a lot, and obviously the team that had finished that season, we were relegated that first year in the Premier League, and that first couple of 3 or 4 months of the Championship season, I hadn't played. The manager had kept the team, and listen, that's the way Sean Dyche was. He was loyal to his team. If the team was playing well, you stayed in the team. And I think it was Michael Duff that actually got an injury at centre back, and he pushed Ben Mee from left back into centre back and brought me in around December time. And listen, you get in the team, you have to do your best to stay in the team. And I think luckily enough for me, we went 23 or 24 games unbeaten and ended up winning the league. And from then I stayed in the team for pretty much the rest of my time there, probably until my last year when I was in and out a bit with injury, and my knee was probably catching up with me. So yeah, listen, you need that stroke of luck. I was looking towards the Euros, and I spoke to the manager about should I go on loan, but he just said, listen, I remember him saying, do whatever you can and cover every basis you can to get in your own team, and if it's not working out, then maybe look to get out on loan the end of January. And thankfully, a couple of weeks later, I got in the team and stayed in. And I think it was one of them seasons where it was a lot better to have a really strong second half of the season to the first half of the season, because obviously we were going to the Euros in the summer, and obviously winning promotion was great for us as well.
You had probably 3-4 full seasons of Premier League football, a couple with Wolves and a couple with Burnley, and I think there was one season, both of them around the European Championship, where with Wolves you played every single game that season, and then the year after the Euros in 2016 you play pretty much every game. Like, that assuredness where you're playing at a level where you're playing against the best players in the world, is that an enjoyable time? Is that a lot of stress? Is that a lot of pressure with the intensity of the focus that's on you at that stage?
It's always stressful, I think, when you play for a club like Burnley or Wolves at the time when I was there. It's always stressful because the minute you get promoted, you're on such a high from getting promoted, but your sole focus immediately turns to trying to keep your status as a Premier League player. And we had that year on year at Burnley, and I think even after the years I've left, they've been in the same situation. So we were lucky enough one season to finish 7th and qualify for Europe. That was, probably one season in a million, really, for a club of that size. So, yeah, listen, it is stressful, but it's also enjoyable. You take great pride in turning out in the Premier League every week. And, I think, like I've always said about my career, you don't really appreciate what you've done in your career until probably now that I've finished. And I think when you're in the moment, you're just looking at the next game, the next Saturday, the next Tuesday, where your next performance is going to come from, where your next point's going to come from. That's always the difficult thing in the Premier League. You can look at 4 or 5 games in a row and think, I don't really know where we're going to get our next point. So, listen, it's stressful but really enjoyable. And, I always loved the challenge that we had there. And it was always a credit to the manager. I think, as much as you were worried about performing and making sure you stayed in the team or making sure the team got the right result, he was always the one that calmed everything down, kept us all, you know, on a level playing field, and making sure that if we worked as hard as we could in training, he always believed that we get the results. And in my time there, we always seemed, no matter how gloomy it looked or how much we were getting written off, but we were always able to come up with big results and make sure that we regained our status every season in the Premier League.
It is one of the great managerial jobs of the last decade, what Sean Dyche was able to do with Burnley, and though it looks as though they've managed to go on without him, it was still such a shock when Burnley decided to get rid of him. What was the magic of Dyche? Was it the man management, or was it tactically on the training ground?
A bit of both, to be honest, and I've always said that two of the, you know, most honest people I've ever met in football and was Mick McCarthy that I had at Wolves and Sean Dyche at Burnley. Two very similar characters, very much from you know, a similar era in terms of the eras that they played and how they went about their business. You know, honest as the day's long. You know, you always knew exactly what they wanted from you when you stepped on that field, and you also knew that if you gave everything, whether you had a good game or not, if you know, tried to perform as they wanted you to perform or do what they'd asked you to do, you knew you had a good chance of staying in the team. And you know, I think every player will tell you in the world that the most important thing you want from your manager is honesty. And, you know, they were unbelievable at it. You know, got an unbelievable dressing room together, both at Wolves. Two of the great dressing rooms that I played in was my time at Wolves and my time at Burnley. Really similar dressing rooms, really similar characters. And, you know, you wouldn't have got away with being a bad character in a Sean Dyche or a Mick McCarthy dressing room. So, you know, they led the way. With how they conducted themselves and how they wanted their players to play. And I always think that, you know, a sign of a good team is when they mirror their manager and mirror how they are as a person. And I think both of them teams really mirrored the values of both managers. And you know, that really started with, you know, hard work ethic, honesty, and just giving everything you can. And I think that's always what I tried to do in my career. You know, I always said I got whatever I could out of my body, whether that was good enough for some people or not. You know, I felt I gave everything I could for the talent that I was given, and you know, I think that took me a long way.
That must give you enormous comfort now as you sit here retired, that actually maybe there's the odd regret along the way, but there's nothing that's, by the sounds of it, that keeps you awake at night.
Listen, there's always regrets. There's always games that you maybe played in, you shouldn't have played in through injury and probably didn't do yourself justice. But I was always one of them types of people, Nathan. You know, if I felt I could get myself out there, I'd get myself out there to help the team, you know, and I'd give what I could, you know, with the talent that I had. And you know, I always felt I never left any stone unturned in terms of preparation, you know, work in the gym, how I lived at home, preparation. And that's all you can do as a footballer. If you can leave a game or every season knowing that you've put absolutely everything into it, you can have no regrets. You know, of course, things are going to not go your way, and you're going to have bad games, and things are going to go against you. You'll have, you know, bits of bad luck on the way. But as long as you know in your own heart and your own head that you've worked as hard as you can to get what you can from your body, then you can have no regrets. And I'm incredibly proud of what I've done. You know, like I said, I give absolutely everything for every team I played. You know, tried to give exactly what the manager wanted from me, and you know, sometimes it doesn't go your way, but you know, as long as you've tried your best and given everything, then you know, you can ask no more of yourself.
It was often thrown at Sean Dyche that he was, you know, very old school. He was probably one of the few managers still playing a 4-4-2 in the Premier League, and I don't know whether that was fair or unfair. When you were playing with him, would you have looked around at other clubs and thought, maybe we should be trying something different? Maybe you know, there's a more attractive way of playing?
Not really. I think as a defender, I always enjoyed how he played. You always had plenty of protection. You had a team, you know, that worked incredibly hard in front of you, which you know, as a defender, maybe the forward players might have wanted a bit more open, attractive type of football. But listen, as a defender, you want to defend, you want to keep the ball out of your net, and you know, it suited me to the ground. But I think the one thing I'd always say about, you know, Sean Dyche and his managerial style, he never had any complaints because what he was doing was working for us. Even when things weren't going great, he believed in his philosophy, you know, got the lads on board, and we believed in what what he was doing, and I think what really summed him up as a person. My first year was in the Premier League with Burnley. We obviously got relegated. I remember being in the meeting room the day before the last game of the season. We were playing Aston Villa away. We'd already been relegated, and he didn't have any tactics on the board. He just stood up in front of us and he said, "Listen, let me tell you now, lads, this summer you're going to have agents, people ringing you, telling you I've got you move here, there and everywhere." He said, "But if you want to be part of this journey, I will get this club straight back to the Premier League. We will bring in the right people for whoever goes. But if you want to be, back in the Premier League, stick with us and be part of this journey." And I remember going into that game thinking it didn't even feel like we'd been relegated. There wasn't a lull. There was nothing. We came back pre-season. Everyone was, buoyed in good spirits, and he was true to his word. So when that happens and someone's words come true like that, it's very difficult to go against what he's saying, and you tend to back him or want to run through a brick wall for him.
When you go through the years in the Premier League, what are the matches that stand out? I presume scoring against Liverpool, like to get your first, like that is the stuff I'm sure as a kid you dreamed of.
Yeah, massive. My whole family was Liverpool fans. Well, on my mum's side, I was actually a Man United fan. My dad was a Spurs fan. Don't ask me how that happened, but he was a Spurs fan. I was a Man U fan because I was left-footed, and Ryan Giggs was my hero back in the day.
OTB AM
with Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.